Is it Tuesday already? These Tuesdays come around pretty quick. G'day everyone. We're here. Well, I'm here, and there's a special guest tonight. I'm not going to go into him right now because he is special in more ways than one. But anyway, welcome again to Robbo's Tech Talk Tuesday, everyone. And before I introduce our special guest tonight, I know he's waiting for me to say his name, but just hold on a second, mate, because I'm going to talk a little bit about a few things that are going on with this channel. A few have asked, I've made a few changes, as in I've started a Patreon page, a Patreon channel, and I'll just quickly go over that just for a second, basically talk about the reasoning behind it. Basically, it's going to give me the opportunity to have a little bit of more sort of in-depth, one-on-one sort of videos, live video feeds between the patrons, and we can sort of create topics between our own group and basically sort of go into explanations that I feel that I can't sort of explain just by typed messages. So that's going to be one of the main aims. Obviously, everyone that's going to jump on is going to help out the channel growing to sort of basically finance a lot of this gear that we need to buy. But as far as the YouTube channel goes, very little's going to change. Maybe this tech talk, once I get back into work sort of thing, will probably push out maybe 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, hopefully not to a month, depending on the guests and whatever. But yeah, so basically nothing really is going to change here. But yeah, if you feel like being a little bit more involved and a bit more of the technical side of stuff and where we can sort of relate questions via video, I think that's where the Patreon side of it is going to come on. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that tonight. I'm here to talk with my special guest. For those that don't know you, I'm sure they do, Daz Horkings. How are you, mate?
Hey, Robbo. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Yeah, now Daz is a mad keen sambar deer hunter, but he loves all thing hunting, and he's also a specialist in the gear when it comes down to if you've got anything you want to find out down in Maroka 30. So welcome, Daz. It's good to have you here, mate. How you travelling?
Thanks for having us on.
Mate, it's a pleasure. You're always going to be there. You're always going to be here. I'm just going through some of these messages. I said we'll create a bit of a buffer, but I think there's a little bit of a buffer, mate. There's Richard Hadfield, Stuart Carter. There's so many people here that have, I think it must be a bit of a race to get on first because it's good to see them up here early.
But feeling like a lot of these boys at the moment, locked in a bloody, feel like a rat in a cage or a dog on a leash. I'm really keen to get out and walk some hills, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know, mate. I think both of us are, sort of chafing
be
at
safe
the bit.
For a while. I think I put on 10 kilos since I've been sitting at home.
Mate, you're like a frog in the sock when you go hunting, mate. I'm telling you now, I can't see you staying still for too long. So, before I forget, because we had one of the subscribers, Steve Pope, asked me to ask you a question. I said, you reckon I've got a good memory? And I said, mate, you better write it down so I'll forget. But you've actually seen the comment, and it's basically on some hunting in New Zealand. And you've said to me that you've got another, a podcast coming up?
Yeah, with the Hunting HQ boys, the Baron and the boys down there have got a podcast. Actually, this Thursday we'll record it, but it might take him a little while to chuck it out there. So for guys that are interested in wapiti ballots, New Zealand, I'm going to give my impression of it, and I'm no authority on the subject by any means. I've only done one tour of duty over there, but I have got some pretty good info for you from a novice's point of view. But more importantly, things that worked, it's fresh in my mind, of things that worked and things that didn't, gear related as well. But I've got Rob Fickling talking with me on that as well. Now he has done a lot over there, and he's got a lot of knowledge on the history of the wapiti herd and the foundation and a lot of that stuff. So we could talk about blocks, entry, the best ways to get into the first time if you've never applied before, the best ways to get access to it. So there'll be lots to talk about. There'll be a lot of content there. So yeah, head over and support those guys. They're all part of our hunting community, and they're good blokes.
No, the boys are doing a good job. I've had a listen to a few of their podcasts, and they're putting out some good stuff, and pretty laid back as we are. But obviously with the wapiti and New Zealand and whatever over there at the moment, since it was about 4 years ago since you went over there.
No, it was only 2 years ago. So
Jeez,
it
well,
was
there you
not
go.
the season just gone, the
But
one before
things have
that.
changed. Obviously, you've taken
Yeah,
firearms in and all that. So
a lot's changed. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it's hard to know, and especially with the moment. Like they're under what? They're still under lockdown
They
4
are,
or
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
over there. I think they're
The
going
poor
to.
buggers in this year, there was a lot of backwards and forwards and uncertainty with that. But it's a good thing about being in the shop is I deck a lot of hunters out that are going over, and I hear
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
reports coming back. So any of those quirky kind of things that come in and out, I'm usually on the pulse with those things. So by all
That's
means, throw
good.
some questions at me. I'm happy to help.
All right, let's have a quick look through some of the questions here. Most of the boys are just welcoming both yourself and me. I won't, just to speed things up a little bit, guys. I appreciate it all, but I'm just going to quickly go down to see where I can find a first question. All right. All right. Rob Patamia. Now, you're going to have to tell me if I'm saying your name. I'm going to say it again. Patamia. Can Daz do a YouTube video or a chat about Garmin Rhino 750? Missed the talk at the ADA meeting, but that book Garmin gives you is useless. And I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know.
rhino. There's a pretty hot topic. I'm not sure, Rob. I think you're part of our Western Port branch, but if you I did do a little video from a hunter's point of view on my YouTube channel. It's on the end of the mountain, so check that out. If there's more info that you want on there, shoot me the stuff that you want to know, and it's probably time to do a revise. That was more of a comparison. The one I did there, the 750s, they've got a little bit more in them, and yeah, if people are going to get value out of that, I can certainly go and revisit it for sure.
Yeah, lucky you remembered to say into the mountains. How rude of me! I've forgotten all about Mad Keen Deer Hunter, Maroka 30. Of course, the biggest thing is actually, and your channel, mate, is just booming now. I've just been watching it of late, and the videos you're putting out, bloody getting better and better, mate. So we all learn off each other, and that's the best part. That's what I love. You know,
Lots
so.
of good mentors.
Well, put it this way, mate. I learn what not to do quite often, what I shouldn't be doing and what I should be doing. But hold on, let's have a quick look. What else we got here? I hope we got some more questions, Dazzle. This might be short and sweet, but hold on. All right. The Hunter's Ministry. G'day, Steve and Daz. What is your favourite stag taken to date?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I Yeah, it's funny that I've got a few good stags and really memorable hunts personally that I've taken, but to be honest, the ones that come to mind are not the hunts about the animals specifically. They're about the adventure and the people that I shared it with. So for the guys that say got their first one, the buzz that they got, and even one that comes to mind was one that we actually shared, Robbo, you and I, the casting
Yeah,
crew one. That was
yeah,
up
yeah,
there with one of the most memorable hunts because of the people that were there,
yeah.
because of the things we found, the new country we explored. That was an adventure at its essence, and that to me, that's what I love about hunting. And always out there trying to recreate that scene. Like the deer often become almost a byproduct for me. And yeah, it's kind of luck of the barrel. One walks out, the size and whatnot is not as important to me as how it came about.
Very, very much so, mate. And look, I was just talking to Rob the other day, actually, and we're just talking about, the whole, and I don't want to go on about, but the lockdown side of it. How, as hunters, it's taking this away from us is not sort of an option because it's who we are. It's like tearing a little bit out of your heart. It sort of,
Yeah.
it just makes you run slower. You sort of, well, I know for myself, and I can only speak for myself, but I'm pretty sure that most serious hunters feel exactly the same way. This is not an option to take it away from us. It's
When it's part of your
detrimental.
lifestyle, it hits home. That's for sure. It's not just a pastime a couple of times a year kind of thing you can take or leave. It's a big chunk and a big style of a big thing in our lives, and lots of things are interconnected with that, like our friends that we really only see in the hunting scene that we see out there. So
Exactly, and
there's all that camaraderie as well. Yeah. So that's the main thing I miss is the connection to all those guys. Even though I like spending time by myself solo hunting a lot, and I can be quite introverted like that. At the same time, I love getting away with like-minded guys, and just going out seeking the adventure. So that's what I'm missing is the fresh air and getting outside and trying to do the right thing and stay and do what they tell us is getting harder and harder as the days go past. And officially probably, or you said that there was some still reports of some croaking deer recently, but I'm hoping that
Yeah. Like I
we get
said,
out there, we might still hear one.
well, this is a time that I'm normally away for 5 weeks. Well, I
Mm.
got 1 week out of it and managed to, we'll be doing a bit of pest control under the new, well, I don't know if they're new laws or the laws that were always there and we've just all of a
Yep.
sudden discovered them. But either way, we'll be working within the rules. But hopefully, was it May 11th? It'll all, hopefully some common sense will come back into it. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. Khadijah's on. Khadijah Asaj. She's one of my new Patreons. Thanks, Khadijah. Next question, Mark Stelson's on. Hentley Beringer. Now, this is a question just towards myself, Daz, but I'm sure you're going to have your thoughts on this as well. Hi, Steve. What are your thoughts on a CZ 550 in 3006 for deer hunting? Well, I'll go first. Obviously, the 3006 is sort of the stalwart for sort of sambar deer hunting, especially. The CZ 550, I'm not up with the current CZs, but if I was to look at the history of the CZ back to the Brunos and whatever, it's hard to go wrong for value for money. They all always seem to shoot well, sometimes a little bit of trigger work, but mate, they're just a good, honest firearm. But I don't know if you've had any experience with that model, Daz.
I've always had a C, not that particular model. I've always had a CZ in the cabinet though, for the same reason. I've always had rimfires, albeit. I think that's the one that's similar to the Stutzen I've got. So the long timber with the it's got the round reticle on the end from memory. I don't know that rifle specifically, and I haven't owned one or even shot one myself.
Right.
But yeah, 3006 in that would be nice. And I wouldn't think you'd go wrong with any of the CZs either.
Nah, look, unless they've changed too, they've got the option of top feeding them. I'm pretty sure that model won't have a mag. It'll be an inbuilt mag, I'd say. I'll stand corrected. But yeah, look, you can't go wrong with that rifle. I don't even know what they're worth now, but pretty hard to go wrong. All right, Rob 14539. Gee, my Pepsi Max tastes so different out of this sexy stubby holder. Good on you, mate. I'm glad you got it. Look out, here's trouble. Laurie Reese is on.
How's that?
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening, Steve and Daz. Fed up with the lockdown right now. Need a big lift. Hope you guys can do that tonight. Cheers.
Yeah, he's
Good
a pretty
to see.
light fella. We could lift him.
Oh yeah, but he's pretty strong-willed. He's one of the keenest hunters I know. But you won't stop him. One of the nicest blokes as well. But I didn't really say that, Laurie. But all right, Sammy James, Gracie, Gunfire, Billy Mansfield, they're all on. Right, let's see if we've got some questions. Hold on, where are we? This is where it gets tricky, Daz. The questions just fly up, disappear. But it's probably the bloke driving the bus here, I'd say. I don't want to miss anyone here either, though. Righto. Oh, geez, some of these names. Skin Spa Acne Treatment, Brisbane. There you go. There has to be a business. Right. G'day. That's all I can say. Righto. This is one for you, Daz. Barometer, Daz. The barometer, Daz. How does it affect deer behaviour? That's your first question.
Okay. So yeah, I watch a barometer pretty hotly. So pick your weekends. I mean, if you've got a weekend that's fair weather, you're probably not going to see much point in watching that barometer. But I like to pick a weekend that's going to have a bit of weather movement in it. So if you've got a storm that's going to be not a big one, not so you pin down the entire time, but one that's going to have a good front to it, that's going to come through, and you expect it to come through. Now, in that instance, I will be watching the barometer like a hawk, especially if I've got a good vantage point that I might have done some pre-recon. I might know where some beds are or some feeding areas on. And you'll find that just like the other critters in the bush, whether it be fish or ants or whatever, they're going to sense that barometer shift and they're just going to become more active. So if you can be, a good example of that was a video we did with yourself and young Jono. And we were sitting back at camp and we were waiting for a little bit of pass in the weather. And even though the clouds are rolling through and we had a lot of wind and rain, we saw at camp that barometer just come along and just drop straight off. As a Jono, grab your rifle, let's go. And immediately, the first face we found, deer out feeding. They sensed it just the same. It's time to fill up the belly. They never know if they're going to be, knuckled down for a little while and they just get more active. So it increases your chances in sighting an animal, basically.
Well, it's look. I often say, and you say yourself, it's pretty much look. Where would you be if it's blowing its backside off? It's been raining, snowing, or whatever. You're going to try and find the most sheltered spot, and it's surprising. Like you can often get into one little gully or whatever, and there's some little spots where there's no wind at all.
Correct. Yeah.
And you get a little bit of sun to go with it or whatever. Mate, that's where you're going to find the deer. They're not silly. Yeah, so he just says here, Dartmouth trout go silly and shut down when a low comes in. Interested in your thoughts? Well, I think that pretty much sums it up. So
yeah, what you've learned from the fish and the other critters, you're trying to apply that, and yeah, certainly it is the case with deer too.
Here's another one of Patreons. Thanks, Fernando, for signing up. Hi, Robbo. Hope Dazza has had a haircut.
Are we meant to have pants on for this, Robbo?
Well, I don't know. As long as we're in different rooms, we're good to go. What happens under the table stays under the table. All right, there's a few others saying g'day. Hold on. Let's see if we got some more content here. Here we go. Guido Ramirez. Hey mate, back again. What projectile should I use for my 416 for fallow? Mate, anything you want for that colour.
Rubber ones.
Yeah, I reckon you just about dong them with it and then just chase them. Put it this way, you're never under gun, Guido. All right, here we go. Oh, here we go. Well, this is really probably not deer related, maybe unless you're a poacher. Hi guys, can you tell me the difference between red light, green light and white light when it comes to spotting at night? Well, we don't spotlight deer, so no, I can't tell you that. To be honest,
I can add something to that. I'm not sure about green light, but what I have learnt is in areas of high pressure where deer get spotlight, and I learnt this from when we start farm fringe a lot, and we'd get up early in the morning at camp, and we'd know a spot that we'd want to get to where we could see over the fringe for first thing in the morning. And the properties that would get spotlit a lot, when we headed out of a hut with our normal headlights on in the morning, we rarely saw deer. So when we used red headlights, we found that we could slip past deer that were out in the paddock without them being alerted. I don't know if that's because they couldn't see it or they just weren't used to it or they didn't get scared of it. But whenever I am off in the morning before sunup on my way to a glassing spot, perhaps, I'll always use a red light. So I don't know if that helps you.
Yeah,
question,
well, that's actually far better than my answer. And I actually have started to use the red light a little bit more and doing the same thing. And put it this way, I can't see it's going to hurt. I mean, it's definitely better than probably the normal white light. So
all the little 1%ers, every little
exactly,
1%
mate. Exactly.
All
right. Good. Declan Loxley. Question for you, Daz. I'm wanting to do a trip up north in the next couple of years for Chittle stag. Can you recommend any decent and affordable guides that provide a non-bullshit quality hunt? Ooh, that's a pressure one, mate.
Yeah, personally, no, I don't have any experience with the Chittle guides, but mate, if you give us an email, shoot an email through to info@maroka30.com.au. Rob will know someone and I can follow that up tomorrow for you. No worries at all.
Good on you, mate. Let's just have a look here now. I don't want to miss anyone. Right. Joss Hunter. Another good man there. Hey boys, love content and loving the gear I got from the boys at Maroka 30. Top quality gear. Yeah, we'll put it this way. And let's just say at the moment there's never a better time to back up our Aussie products and Aussie companies. Righto. Here we go. Jack Hilton. G'day, gents. What would your top 3 tips for hunting sambar in Vic be for someone relatively new to the game? Cheers, Jack. Mm-hmm. You go first, Daz. You know more than me on this.
I know. I'll give you a couple. I'll give you 2 and Robbo can finish it off. For someone starting out, I think the biggest learning curve for a lot of people is learning the difference between wind and thermals and how deer interact with those. So the the three senses that deer have really got on us, the big one is going to be that nose. If you can kind of eliminate that nose and keep that wind in the face as much as possible, but pay particular attention to the thermal as well. The best way to read a thermal, go and get yourself one of those wind puffers, and you'll be able to actually see what that thermal's doing. Once the penny drops and you learn when deer are going to move on that thermal shift, you'll start to get a lot more sight. The other big one for guys that's starting out, goes a lot slower, walk less, look more. That's the big one. Get yourself a good set of binos and look a lot more than you walk. If you know you got good sign and there's definite sign on the ground and there's deer around, they're there. It's just a matter of you finding them. And sometimes I might work 600 meters of terrain backwards and forwards because I know I've got good sign and the deer are there somewhere, rather than just walking 6 kilometers and at a higher pace. So yeah, slow it right down. That's my other big one.
Your number 2 is going to be my number 3 or my number 1. You've taken my answer. But look, put it this way, you're spot on, mate. But I think the biggest thing is for anyone that's starting out and whatever, is don't be too hard on yourself. I keep saying, don't be too hard and don't expect too much. Just enjoy the whole lot. You're going to get wet. You're going to get cold. You're probably going to be sweating your backside off at times. You're going to be as sore as buggery. But we all know at the end of it, you're going to get back out and be planning your next trip. So don't expect too much. As Daz said, just go slow, take everything in, and just basically work with the environment you're in. You can't do much more than that, really. But yeah, don't expect too much. That would be my advice. All right, our internet connection speed's slowing down here, Daz. We'll see how we go.
Yeah, lost you a little bit there. I've got you back now. Yep.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. Hopefully it'll keep going. But everyone's hammering the internet of late. All right. What do we got here? Snake 35. What's the best cull for fallow deer using a 270 at the moment? You go first.
Yeah, fallow deer. Yeah, nothing wrong with the 270. It's that old, what's the best caliber for anything kind of thing. The best caliber is the one you got if it's legal. You've got a lot of play in a 270. You can not only factory loads, but you can hand load them a little bit softer if you're getting a lot of damaged meat. That's probably the only reason I'd change a thing. It's well and truly nice flat shooting. It's going to do the job. If you've got it set up, use that.
270 is pretty good all-rounder. It's sort of on the light side for sambar and pretty much on the heavy side for fallow. Well, heavier, but you can get some pretty solid fallow too. Like,
yeah, the Kiwis love them. They're very, very close to the 7mm, and it's
yeah, exactly. A lot of people go that some of the whizzer cases around that area as well. Which are also a bonus, but. Yeah, I think it comes down to bullet selection and shot placement, as we always say. But anyway, I'm just hoping this is going through all right here, Daz. I think it's starting to pick up, so bear with us here, guys. I just see a bit of a red light happening here, which usually red's never good, unless you got it on your head. All right. All right, Brent Gartner. Have you guys got knocked back on purchasing rifles and ammunition? If you're talking about in my lifetime, no. And at the moment, no.
With COVID?
Yeah.
COVID restrictions, maybe?
Yeah, maybe, but I don't know. That's all he's saying just in general. But no, I've never been knocked back on purchasing a firearm, I can tell you that much.
No, same as me. We're in Victoria, but yeah, no knockbacks at this end either.
All right, we'll continue on here, Daz. I've got red lights here, but I think we're going all right. Let me just pan right down the end to see if anyone's... just make sure... it seems okay. Hopefully I don't miss anyone here. All right. This is only trouble. We're in we're in the hands of the internet here, so... All right. Theo Karanikos. G'day, Daz. Do you work for Barometric 30 or are you more involved with the business? Oh, you don't have to answer that one, Daz, if you don't want to.
It's an all-in-one. Yes, I do, and yes, I am. It's in my best interest to help out wherever I can. So yeah, it's good. It's a nice small family business. So I get a lot of input there, and it's very rewarding. That's for sure.
All right, the big TG. Hey guys, either of you invested in the S20 yet? If so, how is the rifle performing? Well, no, I haven't. Rob showed me one the other week, and I had a bit of a handle of it, but Daz has actually shot it, so he's the man for this one.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, no one, I think, first delivery comes in June from memory, which will be all your kind of medium cows, and then the magnums are due later on in the year. As far as I'm aware, there's been no deliveries. The one that we were fortunate enough to fight was a demo model. So yeah, Rob, I think, is going to get it out in the field soon as part of Beyond the Divide. But yeah, like most things like that, especially on such a new platform, I'd just let it take its course. I know quite a few guys that have already put deposits down. I don't have a spare spot in my cabinet at the moment, but certainly if I was in the market for one, that'd be right up there. Mainly for me, the versatility of a takedown in the bolt action at that price point, it really puts it up there. As soon as you get into that takedown market, it becomes really expensive pretty quickly, and that's a very affordable takedown. Yeah.
It's certainly different for Sako. I suppose I better say it right. I get that wrong. I get loopholed wrong. But it's certainly different. And when I first seen it online, I'm thinking, I don't know if I'd like that. But then actually when I picked it up, it is a little bit heavier than what you would think it would to look at it. But that was quite a big scope on it though too, that Steiner. But the actual way it felt, the way it pointed, it's definitely, well, Daz has obviously shot it, and it's shot well from what he's told me.
Really well. The ergonomics suit me perfectly. I prefer that forward style with both elbows tucked in, a bit like a photographer would shoot. Yeah. So for me, that vertical grip suited my physique perfectly, and I'm quite small in stature, so it is a very compact rifle, fully adjustable anyway. But it is quite short. The
length of pull feels short, but actually when you throw it up, you don't notice that it's short. So it's definitely a different rifle. The trigger will take a little bit of getting used to.
I'd like to see the other stocks that will come out and quieten it down a little bit if they do that. Similar to my carbon light, if they put that that kind of deadener on there and maybe a carbon or something like that. There's whispers of it already, so I think that will be most likely what we see down the track.
And it's probably going to be priced, from what I've understanding, like lower than what you would probably expect. Like if you're looking at sort of the top end sort of the Sakos and that, they're sort of pushing $4,000 plus now. This is going to be sub $3,000. Is that correct, roughly?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's quite a few variables in that makeup. You can buy it lots of different ways, so it's hard to say the exact price on it. But they'll be 2.5 to 3 in that ballpark. If you're in that kind of market, then it's definitely worth a look at.
Okay. All right. Richard Hadfield's been out cutting wood and basically seen a couple of fallow, 2 hinds, no rifle in hand. Guido's up again. Here we go. What's he got? Snake 35, can't look past the 416 Rigby. Robbo reckons it's overgunned, but I disagree. he loves this 416 Rigby. At the end of the day, none of us escaped the 416 Top Gun. All right. Here you go. Daz, how did you get into hunting?
I think like most Aussies, it was little rabbits vomiting with Grandpa and my dad down on the dairy farm. My uncle had a dairy farm, and my dad and of course Grandpa used to help out on that every weekend they could. And there was always the 22 and plenty of rabbits around. And the biggest trophy that you could get back those days was a fox. That was the thing. If you get a fox, you're the man. And as we got older and we had access to a lot of farms, there was always some critters around there. And as soon as I knew there was deer around, they were like ghosts back then. But I couldn't convince any of my mates that deer were a real thing. And it pretty much took me shooting one, and then even then they didn't believe me until I held it up. It was a long way down a big ravine. And then we never looked back. It's been an addiction ever since. I can't remember a long weekend, or I've missed birthdays and weddings and everything. Don't book anything on a long weekend if you want me to come. I'm not going to be there. especially in the March-April time frame. You're right.
We've just got confirmation. Rob sent me a message. Stream's okay. Don't stress. So we're all going all good. So yeah, bloody internet, you just never know, and you can set it all up. But anyway, it's all going well. So hopefully everyone's, by the sound of it, hearing and seeing us okay. Righto, Baldy McNuts. I know a few of those. But hey guys, going to be a good night. I think we've almost covered this question, but I'll read it anyway. But what advice would you have for a novice deer hunter? Is the slow and steady approach the way to go? Well, yeah, I think we've mentioned that previously if you didn't hear it. But yeah, look, definitely. Look, if you think you're going slow, go a little bit slower. You know, it'll be the time that you just think, oh, just go that 5 metres extra through that clear, and next minute, you'll be honked. I think we've all...
If you can't go slow, break it up. Just plan your next 12 steps and stop at that tree where you've got maybe a shoulder to rest in case there is a deer. If you're not the kind of guy that can go slow at any one time, mate, just try and break it down into 50s and then 25s and then 10s. That's another good way to do it. If you break up the footfall sound, that's another good way to get deer interested in, you know, something that was moving and now it's not, and you might even have one coming to you.
Yeah, and look, often you'll get away with the deer seeing you and hearing you, but once they smell you, that's it. It's all over. You know, they're going to be out of there pretty quick. But all right, Hunter Down Under. Hey, Robbo and Daz, might be a hard question to answer, but any insight onto an ADA hunt coming up in the near future? Cheers.
I think they've all been put back. At the moment, it's still, everything's on hold. So, for instance, I can only speak about our branch. We normally do 3 organised hunts a year for our members, and we're all a bit bummed about it. But all our bookings are on hold. If they lift restriction and they allow gatherings, there's no reason why we can't just reinstate that. But yeah, for the time being, we're at the mercy of the government.
I think from what I heard too, at this stage, I think the Hunter Edges still haven't. They're going to hopefully go ahead with that, which I think is in June. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, they pushed it out. To the June. So yeah, their fingers are still crossed. They haven't canned it. They're just hoping that it'll lift by then. And yeah, they're keeping optimistic.
Yeah, well, I think that's what everyone's got to do at the moment. Look, realistically, it's not for me to say, but there's no real reason past the next, May 11th, that things should escalate. If anything, they'll either stay the way they are or sort of hopefully back off. But, you know, that's me trying to talk some common sense. But anyway, Mark Russo, watch both your YouTube channels. Good on you, Mark.
Mark.
Right, Wayne Hammer. Hey guys, the ADA put out a post on deer control today. Has anyone been given any info on whether we will be able to hunt post May 13th? Well, I think we've just about answered that. You don't know anything more, Daz?
Not more than what you mentioned about the control for the farmers. I don't know how that falls specifically to deer, but...
no, well, that's private land anyway, sort of thing, so different scenario. So, look, no, we're all holding our breath, basically. Look, we're all as keen as mustard to get out, but... Harry... Geez, I tell you Greeks, you got to make your names easier for this Aussie to talk about, mate. Harry Casapidis. Did I get it right, mate? Tell me I got it right. Love your work, guys. Thanks, Harry. Good on you, mate. Bo Thompson. When first looking at a new area, what do you look for the most when looking at maps, satellite pictures? Oh, I can't find any deer. Have you found any deer on those yet? I'm looking for that.
In a new area, I mean, nothing beats boots on the ground. That's a no-brainer. Typically, if you're looking in known deer areas and you know there's going to be deer in the area, then I'm looking at terrain that suits the hunter more than suits the deer. To be honest, I'm looking at pinch points, natural choke points, funnels, looking at places that I can use the land to my advantage. So that might be an opposing face that is within shooting range, for instance. I'm looking for land that's not, after a while, if you've walked through a lot of boxthorn or prickly caprose and and you learn to see what that looks like from a satellite, you'll avoid those areas because that's make or break. But yeah, from a satellite mapping point of view, they're the little things that I look for going into a brand new area. But yeah, boots on the ground is definitely, they can't be trumped.
Yeah, look, mate, I think we've all, and the biggest thing too is with Victoria being under fire literally quite often. You could go to one area one year and not realise that it's been burnt a year after, then go back and 2 years after that, and it's just completely different, and it may be unhuntable, or it could be the total opposite. It could be you might have timed it well, where you're just getting the green grass just starting to shoot up, and it could be a bit of a haven. So, as Daz said, it's good to look on the maps. It gives you an idea, but in the end, you just got to get out there and.
Another good thing, I don't know if you're a backpacker, Bo, but if you're normally hunting from where you can say get the car to out of a camp, if you think of it this way, a lot of deer will experience hunters at first light coming out of that camp. So that might be within a kilometer to a 2 kilometer range out of camp. So those deer are used to bumping into hunters and are used to evading hunters. Now, if you think about, I'm looking at a map, I'm looking at that point where most people that have gone for a morning hunt would get to by midday, and then they'd usually turn around and come back. Now, the deer at that turnaround point, they're seeing people at midday when they're bedded, they're in their bed, chewing their cud, they're listening, and generally they'll let hunters walk past them if they're not in the direct line. Now, if you can get to that point at first light, so you don't have to walk 6, 7, 8, 20 Ks, do a massive big adventure through hike. If you can just go in just a little bit so that you're at that point in the morning, those deer will behave differently. The guard usually will be down. They're not used to seeing people at that hour and evading people at that hour under those circumstances. So you can increase your chances there.
Yeah, and basically trying to sort of, again, be patient. Don't expect to go into one area and see deer straight up, but you might see sign and then start to try and work out their habits. And look, you can sit and wait. Sometimes it can be, can pay off. Other times it can be frustrating. But yeah, I think Daz has pretty much nailed it there. Righto, this is pressure here. Matt Cato, he's new to deer hunting, so he's taking in everything we say, Daz. So that can be very bad, Matt. Be very careful. Robin Coker, how are you, buddy? It's good to see you here, a regular good friend of mine. Daz, a mate has bought his first compound bow and is gearing up. What bino rigs are usable for bow hunting?
Yep, good one. I find compound bow, I shoot a bow myself. All of the bino rigs I've used over the years, funnily enough, don't get in the way. If you think about it, your hand is off to the side, your bino rig is this way and you're shooting across your body. So the angle of the string to the corner of your lip to the bottom of the cam shouldn't be obstructed by anything immediately in the middle of your chest. It should be coming across no higher than the armpit. So I'd say just give it a try, mate, or get someone to spot for you, but I can't see any on the market getting in the way. All the ones I've used, the Badlands, all those variants of those things, the Maroka 30, all those things in development, and we made our own one and tested thoroughly with all of these different shooting situations with different systems, and they all worked.
And I think if it does, you're possibly overdrawing your bow as well. In other words, going across your chest too much as well. You either got your draw length wrong, or
that's would be a little bit different.
There might be something wrong with your form, because most of them, if you set yourself up right, I can't see it being an issue. But you definitely don't want to have one with too many straps hanging off it or loose things or whatever. But most now are pretty good. That's the whole idea of them, holding them close to your chest. But all right, Theo Karanikos. Hey Daz, again. In your video, Alpine Samba Adventure Part 3, Azza is lying on one of those air-filled chairs. Remember those, Daz? Would you know where Azza got them from? Well, that's a really good deer hunting question. I like it.
Yeah, the Samba couch. Funnily enough, that was actually my little treat. I took the boys up to I knew that spot as a lookout, and I packed in the couches, the cooker, a couple of sausages, a couple of cans, and it was a bit of a downtime while Robbo and the other boys were slaving away trying to find a deer. We were up there having a little cook up and a cheeky beer at the lookout. So we got them from an online sale a few years ago, they were all the rage until some unfortunate kids put them in a pool and consequently drowned in them, and they all got banned. So I don't think you'll find them around very much, but they were just an online cheap. It's basically a dry bag. It's just a massive dry bag that you roll the top. To be honest, they're horrible bloody things. Unless you got a bit of a wind.
They're pretty cool though. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, they're comfy. Yeah.
Yeah, see, we have to do all the work while these blokes will just...
I knew that would come out in the video later on.
Hunter Down Under is just saying he's got the CZ in 22 and they're well-made banger. They certainly are. And I think even the Brunos are, it's like you'd probably say with most older rifles, a little bit more, craftsmanship in some of the older ones, but they're still a good rifle. Nomus, hey guys, once you harvest the meat from a deer, how do you look after the meat while out camping? So many different options. Do you bleed the deer? Do you put it on ice straight away? Well, I think it comes down to where you are and what you've got, whether you're near your car or whatever. But we've got some new things we've been reasonably happy with lately, Daz. Stony Creek.
Last time I shot a deer with you, you pretty much consumed the whole thing around the fire.
Well, that's the idea. It was cook day, Kay. How were those back straps? They were all right.
That's amazing. That venison rub. Oh my
god. No, it was good. But those Stony Creek meat safes. Is there anything else? I don't know. I haven't seen anything else in the Australian market that is sort of like that.
That thing's a godsend. That has saved our butts so many times. Not from flies, but wasps and other critters as well. Yeah. They are fantastic. But I've always worked on the rule. It's very circumstantial. It depends on. There's a lot of factors. Obviously, the temperature, how it was shot. I'm a heart lung shooter, so generally mine are bled or it just naturally. But I generally work on the rule of once your meat temperature is coming down, don't let it rise up. So if you shoot it in the morning, it comes down, and it's coming down with the temperature of the day in the afternoon, it hangs overnight. You want to get that packed away and keep it nice and cool from there on. Don't let the temperature of that meat come back up, or you're going to get some sliminess.
Yeah. I think, unlike Daz, Daz shoots traditional and there's no wrong. I tend to go high shoulder neck. But that's all good and great if you've got the time. Yep. Exactly what he said with the meat. Look, I think the biggest thing is try and keep it clean when you're processing it at the start. Keep it clean. Don't look if you get a bit of gut juice or whatever on it or something you shouldn't. Wash it out as quick as you can. Don't think it's the end of it. But as Daz said, try and slowly cool that meat down. There's no need I don't think, to whack it straight on ice, but keep it clean, keep the flies off it. And as Matty Webb brings up, the 40-degree rule or 45-degree rule works quite well. I won't go into it in depth, but basically if you get 10 days or that meat averages 4 degrees per day, that means you've got your total of 40, which is basically means you can hang it for 10 days. But obviously if the temperature is 10 degrees, you can only hang it for sort of 4 days. So you've got to weigh that up. But it's not to say that you can't, if you have to, you can't put it in a creek or whatever. If you want to save the meat, you can always do that. Ideally, I like to just air dry, keep the meat dry myself. But it comes down to the situation you're in. Matt Bender watches both our channels. Good on you, Matt. Vic Wide Pest Control's on. He's missed the start, but he's all ears open wide now. What do we got here? Tom266. Hey boys, great shows. Looking at the new Tika T3X Strata. Is that the one you were talking about, Dave, the other day?
That's a ripper. That is one. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I reckon that is going to be a top seller for TV. If you haven't seen the Strata, check that out. That is going to be awesome, mate. But what's my channel? Don. He's all over it. He's going to get 7mm Rem Mag with one of those and top it with a Swaro 3-18, and that's a dual mountain rifle. That's a good budget.
That's what Tom's looking at here in the 7mm Rem Mag. Hard to go wrong. Both me and Daz shoot those. Very versatile caliber, very versatile weight of projectile. He's going to put a Z3 Swarovski for Samba. What do you think? I'd probably say the Z3 might be a little bit light on. They're a great scope, But I think you might be better off pushing up to the Z5 or upwards. They're a little bit stronger in construction. Not that the Z3 isn't, but I think the Z5's just a little bit...
Exactly. Also, the only reason that I really go Swaro is for weight. I mean, for what you're getting, the lightness of them is it's nuts. But with that comes fragility. So yeah.
But the 7mm2 has got the legs. So yeah, look, your Z3
great setup.
Oh yeah. Like Daz, the first thing he showed me with the new catalogue. Look at this new Tikka, and I thought it does look pretty sexy. And look, never seen a bad Tikka yet. Really, they all shoot well. So. Mike Walsh saying g'day from to both of us from Adelaide. G'day, Mike. Jack Sunblom. G'day, fellas. In relation to pack hunting in the national park, is it worthwhile to hunt altitudes up around 1,200 metres once snowfall has become consistent, or would you only target areas down under 1,000 mark?
Yeah. Yes and no. It's a little bit circumstantial, but if you're in the early days when the snowfall hasn't sunk, 100% stay up there. The deer want to be high. But once you're getting that base, so that snow base you're talking about, when it's become consistent, if you've got snow base on there, even though the deer are browsers and they'll still do well in those environments, no, they'll prefer to be underneath that. So even 1,000 meters, depending on the face you're on, I'll be working that 800 to 1,000. You'll find there'll be a lot more action just under that base, if you like. There's a lot more fodder. There's a lot more growth on the ground as well for them. So they'll still traverse across those areas in those choke points on those low saddle areas. Don't rule them out. But yeah, once that base is in, it's not going to be comfortable for you. It's not going to be comfortable for the deer either. They'll start focusing a little bit lower.
Yeah, look, I think, and the thing is too, each year is different, isn't it, Daz? You mean, like...
Very circumstantial, yeah.
Yeah, look, it depends how much feed has been there from, like how wet it was, how the spring was. Like, just in the last couple of years, like where we've been sort of thing, not this year, but I think the year before, the grass didn't really come through sort of right up until sort of December. But
very late.
This time when we're up there, sort of, November, late October, the grass was through and the deer were there. They were ready to go. And I think even if you had a bit of snowfall there, if that grass is still there, if there's good feed, they'll stay there until, it sort of dissipates. So anyway, all right. Apparently we were doing it all wrong. Stevie Bollinger says, you blokes do it all wrong. Mainly Daz, he says, I see you take off your boots to stalk into deer. The only time that works is when you strip everything off, including your underwear. Deer can't see the white ghost. Well, put it this way, if we videoed that, we might be in a bit of strife. I could.
Yeah, I do that if it's very, very noisy, especially with the camera, the crunchy cornflake situation sometimes.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to store your batteries too. So, but E-Mountain Biking Australia gives us... he's doing this to me, Daz. What's this mean? Yeah, good on you, mate. Tim Edwards. G'day, guys. Looking at getting into backpacking for Samba, tent or hammock? And what's a good sleeping pad to use? Righto, Daz. This is right up your alley.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the big question. If you're not sure which one to go for and you don't have anything, get a tent. That tent's going to do just about everything you want it to do. It's a place to start for sure.
And a good one.
A good one, yep. The hammock is a very niche product that excels in certain situations. Let's say you've got an area with a really high ceiling, like 1,400 meters. Most of the deer activities at 800 meters. You don't want to have to work for all that elevation only to have to go down to the riverbed to find a flat spot to camp, or go all the way to the top to find a flat spot to camp. You want to stay at the elevation that the deer are at, and by having a hammock, you can put yourself right there, stay on the same face as those, and work through the systems. That's how I use a hammock a lot. Or say in New Zealand, where we were knee-deep water for a week, and the hammock was an absolute godsend. So there's a specific time and place for the hammock. That said, it's not for everyone. Bigger guys kind of suffer in them just from pure physics, in that you're going to be tall, and it doesn't matter how the hammock's cut, you're just going to end up like a banana. You'll end up with cold feet, things like that. If you're a belly slipper, you're not going to like a hammock.
Yeah.
But if you persist with a hammock and you get it set up right, they can be very, very good. Yeah, but if you're just kind of getting into it and you're kind of summing up the pros and cons, the safer bet will be the 10.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, if you basically, one thing I've never even looked at, because I know I sleep sort of on my stomach sort of thing, so I think I'd
Yeah.
end up waking up with a crook back.
Hmm.
But I'll be honest with you, that's without me trying it. Daz has obviously had experience with both, so yeah, I think what he said there is pretty much gold. What about what's a good sleeping pad to use?
Yeah, so with a hammock, you would be using an underquilt. There is specific pads for them, but they're quite big and bulky. So yeah, if we're talking about pads for a tent, again, it depends on where you are. But let's take my situation, which is an alpine environment, Victoria, where probably neg 9 is about as much as you're gonna kind of come into. Just go with a reputable brand. You're looking at a R value of about 3.7. We'll see most things through. You can always add a space blanket to it if you want to, but you're in a good time in the market at the moment. There's been some big leaps and bounds with technology, and just recently, I've halved my weight, half my volume, and I've got double the mat thickness. So there's some amazing stuff out there at the moment.
Yeah, well, I'm still running the XPED 9LW, which is basically 9 centimeters. It's a longer one and wider, but early models of those, they had a few that were delaminating. I haven't had that issue, but one thing with them though, with any of the down ones, you're not supposed to use your breath to inflate them. And the XPED has its own sort of inbuilt pump, or you can get the inflation bag sort of thing, which is like a dry bag as well. But I haven't any issues with mine. And to be honest with you, in those cold environments, a good down sleeping bag and a good pad, as in a down filter, I still think the down ones are better than the synthetic ones. I've got both. What are your thoughts on that, Daz?
Yeah,
On the pads?
yeah, down. Yeah, same thing. Down for me has
Yeah.
always been the way to go. You can
And
put
I've got a
those
new
things on
down
top.
pillow, haven't I, Daz?
Oh yeah, that's nice.
I'm going completely down.
Yeah.
You could say I'm going down, mate. But anyway, let's just move on here now. Who we got here? Matt Boxwell. Hey fellas, do you guys have any hunts you haven't done in Australia that you still want to do? And if so, what are they? I can answer quickly, no, but I'm sure Daz will have something.
Yeah. Still, I haven't had an opportunity on the Rooster. Rooster's up there, and I think Robbo is like all those pesky bloody things. But yeah, it's on the to do lists, and I've had a few invites up onto the coast and New South Wales areas, and I think it'll be probably a byproduct of another hunt. Will probably be a rooster for me, but it's certainly on the cards.
Yeah, well, I'll put it this way. I think there's plenty of opportunities in Australia to do heaps of different things myself, but so it doesn't really. At this stage, I'm happy just to do what we do. Basically, I'll be happy to get out. Do anything. All right, look out. Here's trouble. Lee Baragwanath. Hey Daz, have you ever seen a deer with your pants around your ankles and a shovel in your hand?
I've got a few stories like that. Most of them aren't my stories to share. There's a good windsurfing story about that one time.
So no.
I've not quite. I've seen lots of other hunters actually coming there. But yeah, personally, no, it hasn't happened to me. But yeah, there's lots of laughs and lots of stories about those. So wait, it'll go pretty sideways pretty fast if we go down that track.
Chris Nation, does moon phase play a part? I don't know, to be honest with you. I'm hedging my bets on that one.
Yeah, that's I've only really noticed that on my trail cameras. Probably not consistently enough to say, a yes or a no. That would be very circumstantial. Like for instance, on private land where where I am, the deer are virtually nocturnal because of the pressure. And on a full moon, I find that if I'm up there and I happen to be hunting on a full moon, which is bright all night, the deer that normally would get fed out all night and full their belly and go back into the bush and sit down and chew, they're reluctant to come out into that open scenario and feed up. So they'll stay on the edges a little bit more. And I'll find if it's foggy in the morning of a full moon, there's a really good chance the deer will stay out longer. So that's in my area specifically. That's what I have noticed with full moons.
Yeah, but see, some the boys down in Tassie when they're on the fallow and that, they love the moonlight nights too.
Yep.
So look,
It's a tricky one.
yeah, it is. I couldn't say one way or the other myself. Whether it's all animals, some nights you'll definitely go out and everything's out. Foxes, roos, wombats, the whole lot. And then other days you'll see nothing. You'll go back to the same place and expect to see something, and they're just not there. So, yeah, it's not straightforward. Paul Ayres is saying g'day from Adelaide. How are you, Paul? Look out his trouble. Maroka 30 TV. Go boys. Have a good one. Thanks, Rob. Here we go. He's testing me again. Nick Trajovsky. G'day, gents. Love both your work. Keep it up. Question for both. What is your pick month of the year targeting a trophy stag? Wow. Now, the key there is, are we talking Samba? Are we talking red? Red's obviously pretty easy. It's obviously the rut, but Samba, like, I personally, I don't know what your thoughts are, Daz, but I like sort of August, sort of September, October. Those
springtime hunting.
But Samba have been renowned for having a deer with with being velvet and in hard antler in the same area. So it's hard to say, to be honest with you. What are you? Are you virtually the same on that, Daz?
Yeah, it's virtually the same. I mean, it is a hard one. Funnily enough, the best heads that I've taken have been in April, but it's definitely you're passing up a lot of velvet to get there. I mean, I'm not really targeting, experiences based on trophies alone. So we're out there all year round, but for me, the most enjoyable weather and the most action springtime.
Yeah, but probably my favourite time of year to actually hunt is actually now. Like sort of March, April. Look, when you get up the alpine areas, sort of August and whatever, especially if you start pushing over 1,000 metres and that, you just don't know what you're going to be in for. So you got to be really prepared. It's completely different sort of hunting. If you're going to go in for a week, make sure you've got 2 weeks of food back at your car or whatever if you have to get in. Because you may not get out. And people we've got to remember when we go in these sort of high alpine regions, they can get pretty bloody wild when the weather decides it wants to come in. So you've got to be prepared for that. Khadijah's saying next year she'll be chasing quail. Hopefully, in this situation settles down. I love eating them birds. So I'm not a big shotgun shooter, and I don't even think I've shot a quail in my life. But have you both done quail shooting? So that answers that for me. And what round, in other words, what shoddy shell would you recommend? What about you, Daz? Have you shot quail or eaten quail?
No, we were just speaking about that recently. I haven't actually. That is a bird that I have not targeted and have not shot. See him all the time.
So do I.
I've eaten quite a few of them. For me, it's a lot of work for a little bird, but
what are you doing? Putting your pants back on down there?
I haven't targeted them. I've just got a bit of a tangle.
Yeah, is that what they call it? No, as far as quail, I see them all the time when we're out spotlighting on the bikes. I'll fly up in front of you all the time, but no, me personally, there's a lot of mucking around for very little reward. I'd rather fire one shot and get a big hunk of red meat.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe I'm a bit old school, but yeah, look, probably your shoddy round, I'd say, without off the top of my head, somewhere probably between a 5 and a 7, I would say, maybe even higher. I'll get corrected here. Again, not a bird shooter. Wayne Hammond, have either of you fellas read Errol Mason's books? Well, I haven't.
Only in the early days. I think number 1 was available. That's about all I've read as well. So yeah, and I'm probably not the best person to speak to with that one.
No, I'm not a big reader at the best of times. Apparently that's why they kicked me out of school. But anyway, if so, have they changed the way you do anything? Please give examples. No, well, I'm easy, mate, because I haven't read them. So no, it hasn't changed my way.
Sorry,
yeah. Peter Bradford. Hi, gents. Thinking of a Garmin InReach for backpack Samba hunting?
Yep.
Would you leave a dedicated EPIRB at home if you had one of these. Oh, it's PJ. How are you, PJ? Me personally, I've got both. I think you've got both, haven't you, Daz?
Yeah, I've got both.
You had one of the early DeLorme.
Yeah, I've still got that. So the early DeLorme is still going strong. Actually, it's been a great unit.
Yeah, well, I've got the what is it, the InReach Mini or whatever it is,
Yeah,
and linked to your phone has been really good.
yeah.
It's just like using, to be honest with you, it's just like using the texting, to be honest with you, which obviously you got a subscription fee. I think I dropped mine back and went to the, is it the Freedom Plan or whatever?
Freedom plan. Yep.
Which
Yeah,
is what,
around
about
$20.
yeah, a year, and then but there's a one-off fee a year. Is it $37 or something, plus your monthly?
I'm still on the DeLorme account, which
Okay.
is the Freedom account on that's about $22 a month.
Yeah,
And
well,
you
I
pay it
dropped
off
back
when
to
you
that as well. But the thing with these Garmin is you can go online and you can sort of suspend it, and you
Yep.
then you pay a month in advance before. If you know you're going to go away for a month or 2 months, you actually start it up again, and it basically takes a payment out, and you're good for a month or whatever until you stop it again.
I think if I had my time again, the one you got, the Mini, which is I think Aaron's got that same one. That's the one I'd go for. That's fantastic.
Yeah, well, I think I've actually got it right. Well, that'll give you an idea. Hold on. That's, I don't know if you can see that. That's EPIRB, and that's the little Mini there. So they're very similar in size. Probably this one's a bit small. That's actually got a protective case I bought off eBay on it. But yeah, it is InReach Mini.
Yeah.
But definitely, once you've had them and got them, it's definitely peace of mind. But just the message side of it is good, let alone the emergency side of it. But if I was to have one and only one, I'd probably still go the EPIRB, just for an emergency. Yeah.
Different networks, and if
Yeah.
you're relying on that from a safety point of view, then even in New Zealand, the InReach, as good as it is, we had to work hard to get that messages out and really get a clear line of sight to the sky.
Yeah. All right. Gordo is saying, hey Steve, spewing the ADA Deer Education course was cancelled. Nice surprise. Saw your name on it as a presenter. Yeah, well, that's not, I don't even know about that. Yeah, no, I do know. Hopefully later in the year. I don't think it has been cancelled.
Postponed was the word I got, not
Yeah,
cancelled.
I don't think it's been cancelled.
Yeah.
You
might not be aware of that if you didn't get the emails, but if you've signed up and paid for that, just jump back on the ostdeer.com.au and just look under the events calendar, and you might find that's just shifted down in the calendar a little bit. I think to June.
Yeah, because I think, to be honest with you, if it does go again, I think every man his dog will be down there just to get out in the bush and say g'day to fellow hunters, because that's
great thing. Yep.
Yeah, like you've been down there and presented quite a few years, and it's bloody well worthwhile, not only to people that are new to hunting, but guys that have been hunting for years. Daz said he always gets something out of it every time.
I mean, the Hunter Ed course has been running for 30 odd years now. It's definitely marketed towards novices, but in actual fact, I find the guys that get the most out of it are the intermediate hunters that know the questions to ask and that have been out there and already kind of got theories and a few myths and stuff around there, and they just want to confirm those things. You've got an absolute wealth of knowledge along there. Guys like Peter Burke and Bogsy and Rob Fickling and a few other guys, all in the one spot, very casual environment. They all volunteer their time, and it's a well-oiled machine. So it's all encompassing. If you're interested and you want to polish up on a few of those things and invest a bit of time into yourself as a hunter, that's a bloody good place to start.
No, definitely, mate. Well, I said, hopefully it does go ahead. My God, mate, I just scrolled down. I think we might be here till the morning, I think. I'm going to have to sort of fast track. I don't want to skip over anyone here, but I'll try and fast track a little bit. Phantom HD. Daz, have you ever found deer where you weren't expecting them?
All the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty
Oh
much.
God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've been honked when I've been out hunting foxes many a time.
Yeah.
So
20 years of hunting Samba,
yeah,
they never cease to
yeah,
surprise me. Where
yeah,
you
yeah.
think they shouldn't be, they are, and vice versa. Yeah.
And it's
So
not only Samba too. Any
it keeps them interesting. Yeah.
yeah. What's your opinion with people using 375s and 458 caliber for Samba? Too big? No, if you can
Uh,
handle it, it's
I call it
bigger.
old school.
Yeah, pretty much. If you
Yeah,
can handle.
when I was a young hunter, I think Kenny Pierce, the first time I said to me, he said, "How do you know if you got a good deer rifle?" And well, I don't know. He said, "Well, you got to be a." He said, "It's got a thin barrel with a even big hole in the end."
Yeah, but maybe he was getting powder and a stick and shoving it down. No, it's true. Look, if you can handle the big calibers, well, good and great. But there's also a trade-off with a lot of those bigger calibers. The trajectory is a lot more loopy sort of thing, for want of a better word. Where you like your 7mm and that, it's sort of because it's so flat shooting and fast. If you misjudge your distance, it sort of it can cover you a little bit. But
Yeah, not as versatile. That's true. I think nowadays we have leaps and bounds in projectiles and factory ammo at our disposal. That's a big change from the old days.
Yeah, sure. Exactly, mate. Righto. Nathan Garada. Hey, Daz, cheers for the link for your rifle sling. Matt O, how do you hunt in Victoria and New South Wales when you live interstate? Not necessarily only for deer, but also wild dogs and foxes. Well, to hunt on public land, you'd need to have a game licence for game animals, but otherwise you're going to need to be on private land, as far as I know.
Yeah, if you're from New South Wales and you want to come down, just grab your It's nowhere near the other way around. I do an annual trip to New South, and well, there's a stack of papers this thick I've got to fill out, and the other way around, you guys just grab your game permit and you can come down at your own as frequently as you want. No bag limit all year round. Just come down and enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I think they've changed a few things around, but your best shot is don't take what we're probably saying as much as we think we're on the money. Check with your authorities to be, most times it's all online. It's just a matter of spending the time to find it. So. Wayne Hammett, have you ever had any trouble when leaving cars for backpack hunts, i.e. vandals, thieves? Me personally, no. I wish they'd come and take it. Give me an excuse to buy a new four-wheel drive, but no one will take my car.
Yeah, personally, no as well, but that's not, I don't think it's just by chance. I've heard lots and lots of stories. I think there is some things you can do to minimize your risks. I think, well, there's a lot of things you can do, but I know a lot of guys that put a lot of time and effort in their cars. That's always in the back of your mind as you leave your pride and joy and head off for 5 or 6 days. But if you can help get the logistics sorted and perhaps do a through hike, get someone to drop you in and walk back to your car, or then it's only there for kind of half the time. And we'll often do that. We'll get dropped off somewhere and we'll leave our car and walk to the other one, or have someone pick it up and drive it down for us. There's a few other ways you can get to there, but just to empty it out. Don't leave anything of value in vis. And I find that I leave my car in very obvious places, in public places. I don't try and hide it down some track where someone can have their way with it. But personally, I find that guys up in the bush are guys like us. I like to think
pretty good.
I'm like that, and they're pretty bloody good. That's your lifeline after all. That vehicle that you've left out there is your lifeline back home. So
I've look, so far, touch wood, I think most people are pretty good. There's obviously the odd one out there, but in general, it's pretty good.
Yep.
The hunting truck, he's saying that he's got a box of frothies for us if we ever get up his way. Thanks, mate.
We love a frothy.
All right. Thanks for everyone's saying they're hearing us and whatever's all good. All right, I'll move. Robert Potamia, Daz Maroka 30 question. What's the best all-round fabric to go with for a winter hunting that is warm but breathable in the Maroka 30 range?
It's a good question. In our range, we use a layering system. So in a nutshell, we've got, say, against the skin, your base layer, your camouflage or your mid layer, your top layer, which would be your insulating layer, and then your waterproof layer. So that's think of it as a big, warm, waterproof jacket that's all sewn together, and think of that as being deconstructed. So you've got your liner, the insulating part, your waterproof part, and you're going to be able to regulate your temperature as the day and the temperature changes. So by doing that, the big advantage is that you can help your body change its temperature and conserve energy, but you can help the fabrics to dry out and stay in top form for your hunt. So you're going to be able to hunt for a bit longer and be more comfortable. And you'll find that instead of having to carry lots of changes of clothes because they become soaked and waterlogged, you're going to be able to manage that a bit better. So that's the big advantage. So in terms of like the best all-rounder, if you just wanted to spend one on our garments, it's a little bit tricky. I'd probably say the Crosscut, which has got a bit of merino and a bit of the Vapor Tech. That's kind of going to be the best all-rounder, but you do need to use that in a system. You know, up in the alpine environment, we can get all 4 seasons in one day, and I just pack for the worst. I know it's a little bit extra, bit extra time, but I just carry a full-size frame pack. I plan for success, and I just put that 4-part kit in there with me.
I'm not sure which one it is now, but it's the thermal. It's a real fine green one with a long sleeve one. And actually, what I like about that, even when you sort of start sweating, the biggest thing, once you've you can be in the snow and you're climbing or whatever, you're sweating. And when you stop, all of a sudden you get cold. You just need to put that outer layer on to stop that getting through to you, and it's been really good. Plus, being a natural fibre, doesn't tend to stink.
That'll be the Crosscut,
Yeah. So I've been quite happy with that, and actually I had it on just yesterday. I don't know. Nick Trzowski said, "Smashing those cans, Daz." I reckon you'll run out by the time this keeps going. I was
just about to take a sip.
All right. Barry W made it live. Good on you, Barry. All right. David McGuinness. G'day, boys. What's your process after a successful hunt regarding aging your venison, fridge, cool room, skin on, skin off, and what's your preferred amount of time? I'll quickly go over this one myself, Daz, because I think we answered that a bit before, but I preferably, at home, I've got a fridge, which I can virtually get 2 deer in. Try and keep it at about 4 degrees, somewhere between 2 and 4 degrees, skin on, and we go off that 40-degree rule, where it's basically, if you're at 2 degrees, you can sort of run it for up to 20 days. So that's, put it this way, are you rather skin your deer and hang them, Daz? Or?
It depends. If like you say, if all things are good and if I don't have time, a lot of my times, if I'm after meat and there's plenty of opportunities around, I'll wait until I intend to go home. So we'll usually have a hunt, we'll explore, we'll look around, and then we'll turn what we call to meat mode. It might be the last day, or when the temperature suits. If all is good, usually you come home, you got to go to work the next day. I'll hang it fur on and leave it for the week. Yeah. And then I'll deal with it the next weekend. Nothing wrong with that. If you're worried about it, take it off the bone, because it can set off against the bone. But generally speaking, I prefer to do that way because there's no wastage. Take the skin off. If you're happy to sacrifice that little bit around the edge, if you've got a dog and you can give him those little hardened off bits as a bit of jerky, then nothing wrong with doing that either. There's lots of different ways to skin a cat. So.
And one thing, we lost 2 deer real quick, as in losing the meat, because we just hung it in the air, and we had about 3 or 4 days it was only sort of 10, 15 degrees, and we got one day that pushed 20, and I tell you now, I checked it in the morning, come home in the afternoon, it was green. And it's nothing worse when you've carried that animal out and then seen that meat do that. So just keep an eye on it. But the 40-degree rule works very well. Chris P. Hi guys, just moved to East Gippsland and just starting to get out deer stalking. I find it very daunting going out on my own. Do you have any advice on hunting on your own when you're just starting out? Well, obviously you want a PLB or some form of communication, preferably 2. Don't just rely on one. But look, don't push it into areas that you don't feel comfortable. That'd be my advice. You don't take any risks.
Build up to it. That's my advice, is don't bite off just because you see other guys going out there for extended periods. I didn't do that overnight either. I remember when I was younger, going out there and having howling dogs and strange noises and sounds and smells all by yourself. It's a weird thing. A lot of guys, there's a lot of romance about backpacking, but it can be a little bit confronting.
Yeah.
My advice is to just start slow, start near the car, and slowly work up to bigger, more remote trips. Keep it safe and keep it close at the start. Some guys even do it on a farm or in their backyard just to test their gear. They've got a backup plan. If something goes wrong, they can dive back in the swagger in their car setup. But yeah, start off small. Don't bite off too much to chew just at the start.
Yeah, or take Daz with you because he's like bait for the dogs. They'll find him all the time.
Hell. That and pigs, they all want a piece of me.
Oh, mate, yeah, I know. But look, I think the biggest thing is to never panic. That's the key. Just sit down. If you get yourself in trouble, sit down and just get that heart rate down and just relax. Like, won't be the first hunter that sort of got totally disorientated. Fog's come in, GPS isn't working, and they've just made a couple of wrong decisions. To be honest with you, you're better off just sitting down, putting all your warm gear on, whatever you've got. If you can get a fire going, sit it out for the night if you have to. It's going to be far worse if you push the limits when you start to think, oh, I'm not sure about this, But
For sure.
that would be my advice. Gordo wants to talk bugs. I go out in the forest and get bites from tiny bugs resulting in red sores that last 2 weeks. Do you use anti-insect product and what? I can't find anything that doesn't smell. Well, I don't try and use it, but if I have to, usually something with DEET in it, as much as it's a pretty potent product, but it doesn't tend to worry me too much. Daz?
I'll tell you what, it's a good topic, and that is something that the Hunter HQ boys want to take up with me, being that Fjordland was a that's bug city. Nothing gets worse than Fjordland for bugs. We've got where I hunt is renowned for leeches, bugs. Everyone wants a piece of you down there as well, and where there's a few things that I do. That's a really big one to cover. If you can hang out for the podcast to do with the Hunting HQ boys, we'll cover that thoroughly. But yeah, there is a few little things you can do to help you out there. They're pretty uncomfortable kind of things to do, I suppose. Hunt winter there's a lot less bugs in winter. If you can, if you're not afraid of the cold, focus on the winter months if they're really giving you grief. Yeah.
To be honest with you, I can handle most things, but I tell you, if you cop a couple of bull ant bites, they hit you for the first half an hour, and it's about 2 days later, the second and third day are the worst.
Yeah.
You just go like hard rocks and itchy, but you just got to accept that it is part of it, and look, do what you can, but don't let it put you off your game. All right, Phil Reedy. I'll let you go first on this, Daz. I know what your answer's going to be, and you'll know what my answer's going to be. But what shot placement do you prefer on deer and why? Excuse me. P.S. These live chats are unreal. Thanks for taking the time. Pleasure, Phil. But Daz,
it is a bit of a circumstantial one, and it's, I suppose, it's a little bit of what presents to you, as well as a little bit of experience and the experiences you've had in the past, what's worked and what hasn't. When I was a young fella, I nearly always exclusively used to neck shoot them until I had a really bad experience, and I nearly got gored by a deer that I thought was dead. So that was the point where I said I won't be doing that anymore. And the scapular shot's good too, but in my experience, a lot of guys that go for the scapular shot, if you're the kind of guy that's inclined to get excited and pull the shot, you'll never pull low, you'll always pull high. So you'll miss.
Very good. Yeah, very good point, mate.
Now, what I've learned from my time is I take my time, but if I ever flinch, I find that I flinch upwards. So I always aim for the heart, that low shot, and try and break that leg on my way through. I find that if I pull the shot, I still end up with all that kill zone above it, being the lung, and the result is always the same. So for me personally, in a good broadside situation where you've got a nice rest and whatever, I'll always go that center mass low chest, and I'll find that usually I'll be either in the heart or dead center mass. What it means is that I expect to have a bit of a follow-up. 30 to 100 meters is generally the case. So I'll find that my deer will expire. If I'm in a situation like where one could perhaps fall off a cliff, or I've got a really good rest where I can take that scapular shot, then yeah, if it presents, I'll take that shot too.
Yeah, see, I think Daz is spot on there. If time permits, it's all good and great. You can place your shot, hold your rifle correctly and whatever, because I can tell you now, a lot of people they just think they need to put their crosshair on it and just pull the trigger. Managing recoil, especially on the lighter weight, bigger calibers, is a big part of learning how to shoot correctly, if you ask me. I personally, if I don't have the time, but I know I want to get this deer down and I know it's going to be a shot that I need to take, I'll put it right centre mass, as I said. But if I've got a good rest, can feel confident in the distance home, I'll go higher shoulder, probably on the third of the way down the shoulder instead of in the bottom third. Because what you'll often find when you go in that bottom third, they will just tense up and bolt, as Daz said. You go in the top section, a lot of people say it's no man's land, but when you get down to knowing where to put it, it will drop them on the spot, and at worst, you'll get a chance for a second shot. Otherwise, with your smaller calibers, side on, you got to remember the neck is only sort of this wide, you mean, where the whole body is this wide. So you can, if you go with your smaller calibers, your 270, your 308, just forward of the shoulder, again in the neck, you'll usually get pass through, all right, and you'll get a good blood trail, but most times you'll find if the shot's right, they'll drop on the spot. And ideally, that's what you want in thick bush. But as Daz said, it doesn't always happen.
Yeah, the risk we'll find with a lot of sambo, being that such a coarse fur, is if you do go the high scapular shot and they don't get that original shock and awe, you'll find that you'll have nothing to follow up. When you get there, you're going to have footprints. It takes a long time for any blood to go all around the body before it starts to drip, and it lessens the chance of you following that deer up.
Yeah, and so usually I'll pass up on deer now. Not so much when I was younger, but if I don't feel that I've got a good shot on them, I'll often just pass it up. Just say, all right, I'd rather not take that shot because I don't think I'm going to find that bloody deer. And don't think that when we say 20 or 30 metres, it doesn't sound like a long way, but my God, without a dog or whatever in thick bush, that can be a whole day's looking. And it
amazing
usually,
where a 250 kilo animal can hide.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Sambar Hunter, when restrictions lift, do you have any plans for another backpack hunt this year? Well, I think we've all talked about it, but nothing in concrete for me.
Yeah, I've already cancelled a lot of trips, so they're all being planned. Lots of planning goes into those things with various different people. So first thing I'll be doing is ringing up the people that we had trips planned with, and hopefully they've saved up their holidays and they're in a position financially to come away still. I know it's just going to affect people in lots of different ways, but yeah, certainly as soon as I can I'll be probably sharing the bush with all you guys up there. I reckon there's going to be a lot of keen hunters up there. It's going to be like the grand opening. But
there's
I'll
going to be some burning rubber, I can
tell. Oh yeah,
some dusty tracks.
Too right.
Arnold Paul, he's just asking here, Winchester 270, run iron sights. He wants to put a thermal on it. Which is the best? Probably both. I'll speak for you here, Daz, but neither of us sort of do that sort of thing. And to be honest with you, you're probably better off looking at last week's chat with Nathan. Cold Gold KB, hi lads, love both the channels. Great info on hunting, camping for all levels. Thanks for your effort and sharing the love. Can't wait to hit the high country to enjoy the coldies. I think that goes for all of us, mate. PK Gold and hunting. Straight up, I don't know this rifle. Hi guys, what do you think about the 270 Marlin rifle?
I haven't had a Marlin myself either.
I don't know if he's talking about Marlin as in brand, or I don't know of a 270 cartridge called a Marlin, but no, I can't say anything about it, mate. Yeah. All right, Ryan Gribrock. G'day, Robbo and Daz. Any thoughts on the Browning A-Bolt 3006? Is it good? Well, I know Dougie Reed shot one for quite a while, and he was been happy enough with it. So, but me personally, I can't give you. I'll tell you, Brownings do usually shoot well, barrel-wise. Other than that, can't say much. Daz, you had anything to them?
I've had a few mates at them. I've handled one. I never shot it. It was actually really light. I thought, geez, it's actually a well balanced light rifle. But that said, that the couple of guys I that have had have had a few issues with them. In one shot really good and one didn't. So beyond that, no, I've never owned one.
And I think there's an A bolt and A bolt 2. If I remember it correctly as well. But the person to get on to, try and check out a lot of the Samba stalking Facebook pages. See if you can get on to Doug Reed. He's had a fair bit of experience with those. Or he'll correct me if I'm wrong. Reg Parker, g'day. Reg, doing a great job, champion. Love the variety each week. Lots of Samba running around on the weekend. Yeah, well, they're having a party at the moment.
Too right.
Look out, is more trouble. Dear Diary.
Jono, hey.
Jono, how are you, mate? G'day, boys. Hope you're not going too crazy at home. I sure am, yeah. I think that's a given. Samba Hunter. Rob, who taught you guys to hunt deer? Did you do any of those independent courses that are around? Mate, just myself. Yeah. It's like all things hunting, you make mistakes and you get there, and I'm still getting there, I can tell you.
Yeah, if the I mean, at the moment, as a new hunter, has never been a better time for information that's out there. We've got a great hunting community, lots of people like Robbo and the guys that are willing to share that information, and you can lean on us for sure. The courses that are out there, Peter Burke's been guiding and educating for a long time. Bosey's got a fantastic course that's one-on-one. With or without a rifle, there's it's all at your fingertips. There's books, there's podcasts, there's all that kind of stuff. When I was a young fella, it was trial and error, and to be honest, it was 10 years walking around chasing ghosts before the penny starts dropping. So you can certainly wipe that learning curve right down if you take it upon yourself to reach out and grab onto that info, and the ADA is a good place to start too.
Yeah, well, we'll probably speak for our branch in itself, the Western Port branch. The boys are good down there, and they did have when was the next camp they were going to run for Western Port, but that's been cancelled?
Yeah, at the moment it's cancelled. Yeah, that's usually kind of middle of the winter is when we do around the Eildon area, and then later on the year, or I think recently we'd normally go, say, around the Warringata for Anzac weekend traditionally, and then end of the year at springtime we go up the tops into the Alpine National Park.
Yeah, and look, I'll just say regarding the ADA guys, again, I only speak for our branch. Look, just understand that you don't have to be a member to come down to the nights and just basically try before you buy. You know, like just come down to the meeting and just make yourself known and have a look. If you like what you see, well, then you can join up. But I can tell you now, there's going to be no pressure on you to do it. But I think at the moment it's the best time to be joining any club, to be honest with you.
Sure.
Nathan Garrard, hey guys, in your experience, is looking for Samba better in the colder or warmer months?
I prefer the cold. I don't operate well in the heat, and in my experience, a lot of the deer, I find it reduces your opportunity to see deer, and then they've got a big fur coat on that conserving water and energy. I'll find that you get about half an hour in the morning where they're just going to sit down under a tree. And they'll chew their cud. They might water in the middle of the day, but give it a big cold winter's day on a nice sunny north face, and they're a lot more active. They've got to work harder. They've got to travel further. With the right gear, I definitely prefer the cold. Yeah,
that's Samba heaven when they've got those sort of conditions. You get a cold week, and then you get that sun come out and whatever, and the wind dies off. Look, realistically, you find the sun, find a bit of food, you'll find the deer. Me personally, I hunt pretty much all year round with the boys. We just change the way we hunt. We might more go to the fringe country and stuff during the summer, and basically try and work. Ideally, spot the deer during the day, early morning or whatever, but go back and wait for them just before dark, so you can nail them and then work into the dark, so you're missing out on the flies. Obviously, you need to have refrigeration. Harrison Fishing says we make good videos. Thanks, Harrison. How you travelling there, Daz? You going all right? Hey?
Ready for a piss.
Oh, well, I told you about that bottle. I did warn you.
Gonna need a funnel and a jerry can in a minute.
Oh, no, we'll see how we go here. All right, Benjamin McCormick. Hey lads, if you had around 3K to spend on a scope for bush stalking,
Shit.
Samba, most shots 100 yards or under. Swaro Z6i 2 to 10 by 50 versus the Carl's equivalent. Thoughts? What's you got a Z6 on yours, haven't you, Dave?
What, an 8 and a 6 and a 3, yeah.
He's got all the good
Oh God! If I had 3 grand to spend on a scope, I certainly wouldn't tell the missus. That's where I'd start.
Yeah, so
See, I haven't owned a Carl's. I've looked through them. Yeah, it's apples to apples. They're both bloody good things. Mate, you can't go wrong.
look, I've had a fair bit to do with both. Haven't owned a Z6, but my personal experience with Carl's is they've been a little bit more contrast. It's hard to sort of define it, but it's a little bit more. Your reticle seems to be a little bit darker, but as far as optically, depending on which one you're looking at, I don't think you're going to be unhappy with either, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
In all fairness, it might come down to the reticles, because some of the reticles on some scopes you won't like over the others. So have a look through them. That would be my... just check that you like the reticle and the setup. But the Z6i, for argument's sake, is if you want a ballistic turret, is going to be sort of have it over the Carl's, because the Carl's one's still pretty sort of agricultural from the what I've seen, as much as I love my Carl's products. But you're not going to be unhappy with the optical quality and the build quality of them.
For sure.
Josh Anderson, great show, guys. Have you ever had to deal with a snake bite or deal with a medical emergency while deep in the bush? No, I'm pretty quick, even though I'm slow. If I see a snake, I can move fast. But I think Daz has had a few little experiences.
Yeah, we've been in some sticky situations a few times. Snake bites, anaphylactic shock, busted bones, all that kind of stuff. Guiding in the snow for a long time. It was lots of tricky situations like that. Best thing you can do is have that contingency plan and plan for the worst. If I've learned anything, it's over the years, it's plan for the worst. Just cover a few of those bases and you'll have a much better chance of surviving. Everyone, you never know how people are going to respond in those things. Some people just lock up, some people are calm and eat it up. But if you've got an EPIRB and if you're in snake season, be prepared for a snake bite. Take a crepe bandage and a few other things and know what to do. If you just like you're in avalanche country, you have an avalanche beacon, just prepare for it.
Yeah, and look, I think the key is don't put yourself. Just look. That's probably the only time I hunt when I'm looking down more than I'm looking up. In the winter I change. It just becomes a habit. Just watch where you put your hands. Just remember, they'll get out of your way most of the times, but there's the odd time that we've come face to face with them. I think we all have. But realistically, just have your EPIRBs and try and, if someone does get hit, just understand that a lot of bites are dry bites. But you don't want to be relying on that. So definitely have your beacon of some form and just try and keep them as calm as possible. Keep them immobile, basically. Vic White Pest Control. Guys, what would your ultimate Samba rifle, make, model, caliber, either off the shelf or custom setup? Ooh. Geez, Daz, I reckon both of us would say we got pretty close to it.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't normally say lightweight and long range in one sentence, but I think we're pretty bloody close to it nowadays. Things have come a long way, and I think, to be honest, the setup you've done, Robbo, I'm not that keen to build something to the point that you've done yours. If the guys don't want it really comes down to budget as well. I mean, shit, how much money have you got? But on a budget, Aaron has virtually ended up with the same thing that you and I have ended up with, for far less money and effort, and that's just a Tika with the Sako Z20 on the top, and for all intents and purposes a lightweight mountain rifle. That's kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah, realistically, like, I love my 7mm with a carbon fibre stock and whatever, but you basically, what the price you're paying on the firearm, you're almost paying that again for the stock. You're still going to come in under the price for Sako, like in the 85s and whatever, but what you will get, bear in mind the timber stocks on the Tikas are actually lighter than the plastic stocks that they come in. I don't know so much on the T3X, but that was the case on the T3s. What you will get though with the carbon fibre is a lot better rifle to shoot as far as absorbing the recoil. And I was actually surprised at the actual feel of the stock too. Even though it's just basic carbon fibre, it's not slippery, it's not cold. So realistically,
the noise at you as a person, like when it knocks and hits things, you'll find it's a lot deader. Yeah.
And a lot of people said, "Oh, it's going to scratch up and whatever." I tell you what, I've put it through a fair bit so far, and it's been pretty good. But look, if you wanted to buy, to be honest with you, at the moment the Tikkas are hard to beat. They just shoot, they work, you could better off putting the money into a better scope than thinking you're going to spend the money on spending $2 or $3 grand on a rifle that's going to shoot better.
Yep.
If you can handle not being able to top feed and having to take the magazine out, which is not an issue on a deer hunting rifle. So yeah, to answer your question, I think we're both pretty happy with where we're at. All right. I'm trying to move this along, Daz. How you travelling there? do you want to have a bit of a break and duck out while I'll answer a few of these questions?
If you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it, mate.
I might need a minute.
Right, just give us a yell when you're back, because I'm going. Hold on. Righto, go and do the business. All right. What do we got here? Mick C, projectile choice on Samba. What are you guys using and why? Well, Daz, I can tell you, shoots factory ammo. I think he's tried a variety. In the 7mm, I'm just using the 162 grain ELDX, and they're available in both factory rounds and hand loads, like I'm doing, and they shoot very well out of the 7mm. Bottom line is, I always say it, shot placement is the key. Even look, the old Remington Core Locked is probably one of the best readily available factory ammo you can buy. So depends what you're going to do with it, but and depends on caliber, but don't count out, mate. You want to be able, if you're going to stick with you're saying projectiles, you're not saying factory ammo, but basically I would sort of get something you can get readily available. One reason I stick with Hornady projectiles, and look, if I have to buy factory ammo, I want to make sure I can buy it anywhere. Gordo, I got notification that Hunter Edge was cancelled, but maybe a catch-up event later in the year. I was signed up for it in June, but no go for now. Yeah, just keep your ear to the, eyes and ears to the ground with that one, mate. Doit bags on. Pete, how are you, mate? Evening, boys. Good to see two iconic YouTubers like talking all things hunting for us to enjoy. Thanks. Now I know you love a detailed question, Bravo, so here goes. Oh, well, I'm waiting. Give it to us, Pete. Cole Mitham. Question for the knowledgeable one. I my first public land Samba stalk last week, and I'm going to mount it myself. And look out, Daz is back in the room.
What I miss?
Yeah, only a couple of questions. I think I'll cover those. He ate the mountain oysters, he reckons. There is none for the mount. I don't know what that question. He shot his first Samba, Cole did, and what's he saying? He wants to... I'm fumbling through this question. It's got me a little bit here. On my first public land Samba last week, I'm going to mount it myself. A bit of a dilemma, though. So you're having a crack, from what I can understand, you're having a crack at the taxidermy. Good on you, mate. Be nice to see how it comes out, if that's how it's coming up. Righto. Doitbag, that's Pete Manert. What video editing software do you both use, and on what platform do you do your editing? Mac, computer? How many days, hours do you spend editing, say, 20-minute clip? Righto, Daz, you go away.
Oh,
I'm always into Daz about this.
Yeah. The boys. I mean, I've got some pretty good mentors, but they all tell me I need to up the game. So I just use my very basic laptop with iMovie. That's it. I know I've tried a few bits of software and it's like a bloody spaceship to me. I just don't have the time. But I will say it's a long way up from Jono. He's using his Samsung phone and he comes up with a bloody great result. That's amazing.
Mate, I'm telling you now, I'm going to say it quite simply here. These young blokes shit me, I'm telling you, because I wish I could do what he does with his phone, I'm telling you. But Daz is up in the ante. He's got the mics. He's been changing all the mics and the cameras. It does make a difference, though, doesn't it? The audio is probably the hardest in the hunting situation to get right, and
and I never gave it enough time. What I've learned from you guys is, even if the video stuff is a little bit, if you guys, as the viewers, can hear us coming through loud and clear, and I mean, I've always done the old whisper to the microphone and go over here and come back and go, oh, I've got no audio.
And I can assure you, it's very frustrating when you come back and you think you've got it right, and all you hear is through. You think, oh man,
yank the cord out.
Yeah, I know exactly. The second part, well, you're using a Mac.
Yep.
I'm using a PC that I built myself, purpose built for what I do. I use Premiere Pro, CC. But Daz, you're doing most of your stuff in 1080.
HD. Yeah. I can't even look at 4K. I mean, that time you gave me some. My computer can't even scrub. It's not a whiz bang computer. This is a standard iMac. You know, it's there's nothing to it. So I'm future proofing. If you can afford to get a setup for 4K, then by all means do it. But yeah, they cook the batteries. I can't get anywhere close to it.
Mate, I can tell you now, I built this PC purely to do 4K, and then there's 4K 8-bit, 4K 10-bit, and so on. And I can tell you now, once I start to run this computer with liquid cooling, the temperature in the room goes up about 5 degrees in about an hour. So, yeah.
There's definitely some advantages. I mean, your stuff looks amazing.
Sometimes.
If you're into the post-production, the fact that you've got room to move there in that 4K zone and crop in and pan within it. That's fantastic. Yeah.
And as far as time, I'm not going to go into time, Peter. It takes me because, mate, way more than most people would expect. It's not only that, like for a 20-minute clip, I don't often do videos that long, but for a 20-minute clip, the amount of stuff that I would sort of throw away and not use, I'd probably only use 10 to 20% of what the footage I've got. I don't know about yourself, Daz.
Oh, you're brutal. You know, when I tried to show as much as I can of it, and I might turn 4 days into 40 minutes, and even that, it's sacrilege to throw away that much footage to get one out. But you've got to cut the line somewhere. I mean, I could make these for hours long, really.
But I think the key, if you want to get a bit more serious about it, is you've got to film everything. You've got to film when you don't want to film. You've got to film just everything. So it's better to be looking at than looking for, as they say. So, and we're all guilty of it. You know, if you don't take footage all the time, you get halfway through and think, oh, I've got nothing to fill that in. You know. So, but yeah, too much time. That's to answer my question. All right, Bo Clemson. Hi guys, love your work. Both great channels. Watch them all. Do you guys do anything for scent control or just wind in your favour? Wind in my favour for me.
Yeah. I've tried a lot of things as a young guy, and tried masking things and scents and you name it. We tried it. It doesn't work. They get through it every time. Just try and work that wind and watch that thermal. That is your best friend. That's the best thing you can do.
But also, one thing we probably don't mention, and Daz is right on it a lot of times with Samba, and that is you can use that wind to your advantage too. All of a sudden you'll get that smell and you think, hold on, hello. Yep. You mean you got to remember we've got senses as well, so maybe not as alert. We might not have big bad ears like the Samba do, but we can still use those senses to our.
And working together as a team. I mean, humans always work better together as hunters, and we know from experience. Yeah, if you're walking into gullies and you're finding you're getting busted and those deer are running out the tops all the time, well, mix it up a bit. Put your mate up the top. Let him go a long way and let him get to the top, and then enter like you normally do, and you can use the sense to your advantage in that respect. Let them smell you and work out where they evade you and put a gun in the way. Yeah,
exactly. Pete Deutberg is just so what's your go-to camera for zoom, HD or 4K capability? To answer, I could go on all night with that, Pete.
I use this is my go-to. If I'm just going to grab one, just real quick. This is just a prosumer. It's not a consumer. It's not a professional. It's right in between. That's the Canon Legria. They also call it the Vixia, but that's just my point and shoot video camera. I've got lots of other cameras just like Robbo, but that's my go-to.
Yeah. You've had that for a while, and it serves you well though too, and it does.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. You can go full manual auto. It's a great little camera.
Just quickly going on, one thing like we talked about before on audio, the microphones are probably the key too, and I've found the Rode Video Micro works the best on just about all cameras and is the cheapest. Well, they're about $60 to $70. They work the best by far. So,
That's that little guy there. That's
yep,
oh, I got the fluffy stuck on there, but that little guy
yeah,
there
yeah,
is the one that
the dead
Robbo's
cat.
talking about.
Yeah,
That's
and
fantastic.
they
That was the
look.
first bike I bought, and I ended up same place you did with the little Sony without attached, and that is a
Yeah,
great for the money. That's fantastic.
they are, and the thing is, if you rip one off or rip a lead out of it, it's not going to really hurt. The other ones are sort of pushing $200 over. So
If anyone's up around the Dargo area and finds one of those wrapped in a condom, yeah, you can return it to me.
yeah,
Thanks.
and if you find a dead cat not far off the Morocco as well, that's mine. All right, Roger Maroon. G'day, boys. What are your favourite deer to hunt in Australia? Look, I'd say all of them, but Samba is hard to go past myself.
Samba.
Yeah. The Hunter's Ministry. Daz, do you prefer to hunt the tops, snow line, or lower river sections and gullies?
I do prefer the tops. I mean, definitely the gullies and the river systems down low are more productive. That goes without saying. But yeah, I just like the tundra and the I don't know, the view when you're up there. You know, you get to see the sun come up. You get to see it go down. You can cover ground and head deer off. And yeah, I do prefer the tops. Yep.
All right. Pete, he's just said sorry to break it down into limited spots, but we appreciate that, Pete. To be honest with you, there's more specific questions, the better we can give it the answers. Yep. But yeah, don't worry, mate. Camera gears, we could almost do a complete thing of it. We bore people shitless, you know. Corky's Bees, how are you, mate? Hi there, guys. Just wondering if you have ever used Kimber rifles, and what would you rate them? Me personally, no. I think Tony Gilhan runs one. I think.
And Gibbo, he's got
yeah,
one.
That's right.
Gerard Abrams runs one. Yeah. I nearly went down that path as well, and I was just about to drop the hammer on one when I got my last Sako, so that's the carbon light. Yeah, personally, I haven't shot one, but same thing. It's a great mountain rifle, lightweight. Yeah, they come with really good rapport. Everyone that I know that has had one has absolutely loved it. So if you're looking for one of those, it's not a bad choice.
Okay, I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit here. There's a few boys answering their questions to each other. Rob14539. Hey Daz, I love the Morocco 30 Stalker sling. I've never had a sling as good. It works so well in the kitchen, hallway, lounge room, and the backyard. Oh well, just yeah. Well, put it this way, you can never perfect these things out in the bush, so might as well give it a run at home.
That's great.
Harry Kazapetis, is it true that deer can feel vibrations through their hooves? I would say yes, very much. Yes, I think most animals can, to be honest with you.
They communicate a lot. Animals communicate with thuds and thumps, so that would not surprise me. I haven't heard that specifically or had any research, but I would say
I've heard it on fallow deer for argument's sake that's why the sort of the pads of their feet aren't hard.
Right.
But in some scenarios, but I don't know the exact science of it either, Daz. But it does. I would say it would not surprise me. Okay, Harrison Fishing. Hey boys, what's your preferred hiking pack for around 3-day hikes? 3 days for me, I would use my vest, which is no longer made, so I won't even go down there. Otherwise, it's just my old Mac pack Cascade. But Daz is
it just depends on my loadout changes. I mean, I get a lot of guys asking for pack breakdowns and what I bring in a pack and stuff like that, and it's valuable. I get that, but I've been a bit reluctant to do it because every single trip I go on, my loadout and system changes. I've got a few favorites, if you like, that fit my torso, and that's what's important to me is the fit, not over function. So I've got packs that I love because of all the functions in them, but they just don't fit me right. So I barely use them and I lend them to buddies all the time. But yeah, for me, the ones that fit the weight, and I like to fill them out so that those packs always seem to work better when they're full, and rather than a half full 120 liter pack, I'll find something that suits the gear that I'm taking. So yeah, that seasonally will change. Like winter time, obviously I've got a lot more winter gear, so I'll bring a bigger pack than the summertime. And sometimes I've got lightweight little hyperlight stuff where I just want to get out, way out, cover a lot of ground, and I'm going to sacrifice a lot of those comforts to be there. So yeah, it's a very, very open-ended one. That one, it's a big topic in itself.
Oh, Robin Coker says, Daz, does your shoulders get sore carrying the old fellas around on pack hunts? Cheeky bugger, what are you saying?
Yeah, they certainly do.
That's a low blow. Come on, we'll get you out there, fat boy. So there you go. Yeah, he's enjoyed it tonight. Look out. Guido's at it again with his 416. Guido, I know you love that 416 to give it a rest. Gordo, you were talking about how long to hang meat. Your nose is the best gauge. If it smells bad, it's bad. Yeah, fair point. Matt W. Hold on, let's just move along here a bit. Matt W. What's your average distance you shoot Samba? I haven't managed to get one yet, but bumped a few not long. Got a Tika Batu in a 9.3 by 62 as a Samba gun, but starting to wonder if it will have enough legs. Look, I think most of my Samba would be shot under 200, but then I get times that they're shot over 200 for 2 or 3 trips in a row.
Yeah. In the bush, like I'd categorise that 2 ways. In the bush deer, where I hunt, well, shit, average would be 60 to 80 meters. That'd be my average. A lot of them are closer. But I like, I mean, that where I hunt predominantly is very, very thick, and they're almost right in your face before you even see them. But you're out there on the fringe country, like we are, Robbo, on there, and especially with the fellows, certainly you want something that stretches the legs. And with those types of deer, the 9.3 is probably going to be stretching the legs a little bit out there, right?
Yeah, I think you need to sight. Look, normally I would don't very often sight my line of sight, bullet trajectory over sort of about 2 inches over the line of sight. The 9.3 on Samba, you could go a bit higher if you wanted to, and probably push that rifle. Look, it's not my sort of thing, but probably push it 250 maybe. But yeah, if you want to start going 300 plus, it's probably not the right caliber for you.
I love my 9.3, and that's what I use as my scrub gun, if you like, up where I'm in the thick stuff. It's good. I can use it open sights. I'm confident with that. Yeah. And yeah, most of that shots are 60 to 100. I shoot a low uphill out of that, so I get a little bit flatter because they seem to get to 200 and drop like cinder blocks. That said, I do have an inch and a half high at 100. Just in case I need the legs, but I've never had to use it out there with that.
I think too, like with the 9.3, in the bigger calibers, it's probably one of the nicer to shoot.
It is, yeah. I'm soft frame and I'm susceptible to recoil, and that's the only big caliber rifle that I can shoot.
Like Ben had his in the Black Bear and whatever, and like he's a bigger bloke, but at the same time, same calibers in different configurations can be completely different rifles to shoot and build confidence with, so just got to bear that in mind as well. But yeah, 9.3, I wouldn't sort of push it much past 250 myself on deer. Ben Hobbs, evening gents. Daz, used to see a few kit gear reviews from you. Got much coming up?
Yeah. I've been. I thought with all this stuff going on over a lot of time, I've got so much that I've filmed and just haven't edited, and that's what we're talking about before. The editing takes such a long time. It's a big slice out of our lives, and you got to kind of be in the right frame of mind for it. But yes, I've got lots of exciting gear coming up this year. There's lots of new things coming out that I've already got my hands on a few things. So you'll see them pop out. Clothing, gear. It's going to be a good year for that. So yeah, fortunately we have been really busy down at Barometric 30, which is good. We've had lots of support from the hunting community, so that's keeping us busy at the moment. But yeah, as soon as I get a little bit of downtime, I'll start tuning those out and give you guys a bit more content. We're still catching up from last year. We've got a few rafting hunts and a few other things we did, which are great. I just haven't edited yet, so sorry, I will get there.
Yeah, I think we're running out of our backup stuff. So at the moment, no, I haven't got anything directly in the wind myself. But as soon as we get out again, we will be. Adrian Isbell, g'day lads, new to it all and keen to hunt high country. Looking for first binos, 8 or 10 power for an all-rounder used by a newbie. Budgeting up to $1,000. Look, personally, yeah, look, $1,000, I'd try and put them into a good second-hand pair. But you've had a fair bit of dealings with the Vortex range.
Yeah.
They're in that sort of price range, aren't they?
Oh, well, yeah, way under.
Yeah.
I mean, I think even up until quite recently, I would have always said Japanese or European glass all the way. There was no other way. Spend as much as you can afford. That was always what we said to do to get glass. I mean, sambar, usually it's a dark environment with a dark animal, and to get them to pop, you'll increase your chances. But these days, the glass polishing and what's on the market, the Americans have caught right up with it, and they're making some amazing glass for the price point. $1,000 when you're starting out will well and truly get you out there spotting deer for sure. As an all rounder, from my experience in the shop and what I see a lot of guys starting out with, if you just want to get one power, if you like, that's an all rounder, the 10s seem to be the flavor, and that's what everyone seems to go for. It's a very personal thing though, how shaky your hands are. We were speaking about that just recently, Robbo, you and I. I mean, I used to carry both. It was 10s and a spotting scope. That was what I always did. And then when I invested in some 15s, I dropped the spotting scope, and eventually I just started using 15s all the time. I feel lost without them. When I take the 10s, I started just not using them anymore. So for me, my personal way my hunting has evolved is I like to have that shallow depth of field and scroll in really nice and close, but it's the way my eyes, and I've trained my eyes for that. But yeah, everyone's different. If you're looking for that one all-rounder, I'd probably push you towards a 10.
Yeah, but then you've looked through my little 8x32s, Daz.
I love those things. That's exceptional. The depth of field on those is exceptional. I've never seen a pair of bonners like that. Yeah,
they're the little 8x32 Zeiss FLT, which are the top of the range. And they're 3 times your budget, but second hand, that's not out of the question. But you're gonna have to beat Daz to buy them though.
Yeah.
Mate,
that would have been the rules for. They were awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Look out. Here's trouble. Have less, do more. Don's on. Donnie. Bloody good show, boys. Thanks, mate. Question for both of you. What's one item you haven't got that you really want for hunting sambar? Oh, I reckon Don to carry my pack.
It is my birthday, Don.
Love you, long time radio boy.
Yeah, that's a good one. The best present's the one you buy yourself. There isn't too much I think that it enhanced my hunting that I'm really after. I'm a bit of a gadget kind of guy, and I buy it all, and I'm kind of buying and selling stuff all the time. Nothing really comes to mind, I suppose.
Can you wind the clock back, Don? Can you give me better legs and a fitter body?
I know. We'll see. Don's probably thought about this is recently he's treated himself to his first set of Swaros.
Yes, that's it. He's gone.
Yeah, he can't believe how long he's gone on with mediocre optics until now, and I was like that for a long time too, and I'm more like that with cameras. So I'd probably invest in a better camera system, because that's what I enjoy when I'm out there, and that's kind of one thing that I could use a lot. Yeah. But in terms of gear for me personally, I'm set up the way I want to be.
And that's just quickly on the camera. That's one thing with hunting. You hunt long enough and whatever, and we always say it's not about pulling the trigger. I get a lot of enjoyment out of just filming some, like that. Whereas Azza caught Steve sneaking up on that stag. That's gold to watch back at that,
Yeah.
So, all right. Hentley Beringer. How do you protect your guns when you get caught in the rain while hunting? Does it have any negative effect on the gun if it gets wet while you continue to hunt? Me personally, they're tools, mate. That's why I invest more in my scopes than my rifles. But bottom line is, they're going to get wet. Let them dry out naturally, or just fill them with WD or whatever, quick spray. I carry the tiny little cans of WD in with me. More importantly, get it through the bore. If you think you got water down the bore, just carry a bore snake, whatever, with you in your pack. They take up no room. Drop it down, a little bit of spray of WD. You'll be good to go.
As much as I love those beautiful, like my Bavarian with a blued barrel and timber stock, you're right, it's sacrilege when you do what the sambar hunters do to rifles, and you'll end up in tears. Just my advice is to buy something that's easy to maintain in the first place, something that's either stainless steel or that you could get Cerakote perhaps, with something you don't mind, like a hard surface like even the polymer stocks, the carbon stocks, they all get scuffed up and scratched.
And let's not forget too, stainless does corrode as well. It's not the be all and end all. So you still got to protect them the same way. More than anything, protect your bore, protect the action. And look, like Dad said, you just got to wear. It's the first scratch that hurts the most. After that, you sort of.
You could use a rifle bivvy, some
Yeah,
of those
exactly.
silicon cases to protect it. Like when we're on our way somewhere, we'll use those a lot. Or say at night, if I'm in a hammock and obviously the rifle can't be in the hammock with me, I'll use one of those skins over the top to protect it from there.
Yeah.
Or more, to be honest, I try to protect my optics more than anything.
Yeah.
That's eventually what you're shooting through. So, that's kind of a big emphasis for me.
But like I said, though, those silicon socks, I actually store my rifles in them. And what I'll do, every time I take them off, I'll give them a light spray on the outside, then reverse them every few months or whatever.
Great.
It's just what works for me. All right. Okay, quickly here. Hey, Robbo, what's the best fox whistle you have used? Anyone that you know how to use well, to be honest with you. They all have their place, but just a basic Tenterfield whistle does the job. Gordo, you and Daz talking deer hunting looks to be very popular tonight. I can see this running for a long time. I don't know. Well, we're coming up 2 hours, Daz. Are you still going all right?
Oh yeah, it's past my bedtime, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll be up early tomorrow. I've got to go back to work tomorrow. What's going on?
Yeah, all right, mate.
All right. When can a buck and a woman's ankles both make a bloke smile? Oh. I'll have to say this one later.
Not reading.
I love the
Who
answer.
is that?
Robert Purcell. He's one of my patrons. Good on you, mate. That's gold. Well, yeah.
You're gonna make Robbo go red there.
Oh, yeah. I go red real quick. He knows that. I'm like a barometer. See, Nomus, how do deer react to brumbies or kangaroos? Does their reaction tell us something? Well, I can tell you now, animals all work in together, the cheeky little buggers.
For sure. Yeah. That's an interesting one. That's one we've been over the period of maybe 6 or 7 hunts now. We've been trying to work that out ourselves. I personally have only got recently a bit of experience with the horses and the brumbies, and I've spoken to a lot of guys that have had a lot of experience with those and learn a little bit. But kangaroos, specifically wallabies, in the area where I hunt, wallabies are often deer will use them as sentries. And up where I was hunting with Stewie with the red deer, I learned a lot about kangaroo behaviour and the way that the deer will interact with the kangaroos and work together with them. So yeah, they have a pretty close relationship, and certainly pay attention to those interactions. Yeah.
And cockatoos.
Yeah, bird life. Yeah.
They give me away all the time. Daz's son. Hey guys, any tips on getting your dad to take you hunting after COVID-19 passes? Buy him a new rifle. There you go. That'll get him out there.
Yeah, I think he'll be keen to get out there after that. That's for sure.
Vic Wide Pest Control. Maybe a dumb question. Well, we're about to find out, but I always say the only dumb question is the one you don't ask. So, can you taxi and mount a head/antlers in velvet? And is it harder to do? Yeah, of course you can, mate. Yeah, no problem.
There's a few modern day methods. In the old days, they just pump a heap of formaldehyde on there, and it's good for the shed, but I probably wouldn't put it above the bed.
No, I've got a few that have sort of actually got the velvet all draping off them out here.
Yeah,
and it just dries. Yeah, and it's no issue. They're just skull
caps.
Got to
protect it from insects and mites and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can be done for sure.
Yeah. Shannon Braslin. Hey gents, what's the best time of the year to do a backpack hunt in the Alpines? First time. Well, best for weather or best for hunting? I would say August, September myself, and just
take the springtime when that clover push comes through. Animals are on the move. Yeah, springtime. If you're going to go in the Alpine National Park opening weekend, it's going to be a lot of people around, but you'll have a great experience for your first time.
And just hunt the height, the altitude, depending on the condition of the year. You've really got to, like I say, find the food, you'll find the deer. Okay. Yeah, Hunt and Fish just said here about the formaldehyde with the velvet stag. Aussie Kelpie, have you seen the adverts on the new CZ515 lever release that is made specifically for the Australian market? What are your thoughts?
Got blood flow.
Yeah, talk to me personally on that one. I could get incriminated here, but yeah, they have my attention. Let's just say that. Yeah, 22 Magnum might be in the cards.
Yeah,
Night vision
sexy
rig.
looking. I like the timber one, to be honest. I reckon.
Yeah. Look, I'm looking at just setting up a night vision rig with one of the pards. Just for exactly. Just to sit over Warren and just sort of and clean up the rabbits. So that's what I'm looking.
One thing you'd have to just check. I mean, I pretty much shoot subs exclusively with my CZ, and I love it. But if you're going for that quietness, you might not get so much quietness out of that model.
No, you won't, and even and you'll get it through the action. You do. When we used to have the semi-autos, you still got noise through the action, even with the subs.
Yeah, keep that in mind.
Yeah. Okay. Grey balls here. Love some of these things. Hey boys, for quail we use shot 9 and 10. Well, Khadijah will be very happy to read that. Like I said, I know very little about quail hunting. Any hunters using modern muzzleloader rifles? That's a question for Jenna. That's from Frank Peter. Not that I know.
Not that I know.
Matty Webb's on. Hey fellas, Matty, how are you?
G'day.
Harrison Fishing. Oh, yeah, Matty. I don't know. Matty Webb's just asked us, what cameras are you guys both using these days? Did I miss that earlier? You did, but we didn't go into it in depth because Daz is the smart one of the two of us. He keeps it simple. Yep. I have issues when it comes to cameras. And I could spend all night on it, so I won't go down that track.
Yeah.
But look,
I've gone down the line of a dedicated video camera. I find it. I started with a camera that was made for stills and tried to make it work for video, and it was okay. I love that you can change the lenses. It become very heavy and very expensive very quickly. So I moved over to the video camera stuff, and I found that being that when you're trying to film something it's all well while it's still, but when it becomes a dynamic shot and something's moving towards you, a lot of those cameras you got to be really on the pulse with getting everything in focus on the fly. It takes a lot of practice. And for me, in low light situations like your typical sambar encounter, I was not getting that light through those lenses, where the standalone video camera, it kind of babies you a little bit. It'll help a little bit. It's a lot easier and user friendly.
Yeah, look, it's, to be honest with you, Matty, it depends what I'm doing. If I'm going in real tough country, I'll carry the little action camera, which is probably behind here somewhere. I can do this without knocking everything over. These are still one of the better little fellas, the little FDR 3000s. Sony hasn't have to update them for probably the best part of 5+ years because they've just worked. Yep. Just a few modifications, just with a microphone, a cold shoe on the side for the microphone, I should say. Other than that, no, like I said, there's too much to go into, mate. So, but and it starts becoming a bottomless pit, basically. All right, mate, let's move. What's the best cut of sambar venison? I think it comes down to how you're cooking it, to be honest with you. But anything off the leg or the backstrap for me.
Yeah, I don't give away my backstraps. That's probably for me the best bit.
No, not unless we cook them there and then, Daz, on the night. Grunter the Hunter, hi, Robbo and Daz from Tassie. Matt Pert, Robbo, cheers from Darwin. Good on you. Rockaholics, g'day guys, best podcast yet. Merino wool or synthetic for base layer? Merino wool for me.
Same for me, mate.
Alright, here's Lethal again, he's back on. Have you ever hunted an old deer in the raw? I don't know.
Old deer in the raw?
Yeah.
Red deer? Yeah, it was Joseph raw and deer's got to be red deer. Yeah. We've hunted plenty. Old deers are very, very cunning. It's always the last one you find, the one that's a bit quieter. But you're
You there still, Daz? You locked up. Oh, that's all right. I thought you went to sleep on me. Chris P, maybe this is from Robin Coker. Chris P, maybe hunt same areas more often to build confidence, and yes, don't push it. Yep, good advice. Rockaholic 67, how do you guys sterilize your water without boiling it, as Sawyer Mini only filters it, not sterilizes it? I don't worry about it unless I think the water's really dodgy. I just look at other alternatives.
Never
maybe I've just got a gut of steel.
Yeah. So we've never had any dramas. I've very rarely sterilised. It takes a lot of time, and if you got gas, boiling and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I've never worried about it.
You can get the Steri pens. I've never used them, but they're quite a big investment. I think they're a couple $100 as well.
I've used them, yeah, but it won't get. Yeah, you still still be consuming all the live bacteria. It's just that they're not going to bloody root and have a party in your stomach anymore. So I'd rather just filter them out.
Well, I think the key too is when you first get into these areas, as much as you're hunting, you're looking for springs, you're looking for water, and look, you'd be surprised where you find water on top of mountains and whatever. So, but then you can be unlucky too. So don't rely on that either. Khadija Assad, Life of a Huntress. What is your most memorable, funny moment during a hunt, and you can never forget the memories on that specific hunt that you talk about? I love a hunting stories. Please, Khadija, I cannot pass on these. I cannot say it face to face, maybe, but not on this. I can tell you now. We've had many, and So
I've got a few
sorry, buddy.
I can tell them here either. In terms of funny moments, I'm just trying to think of a clean one. Should I tell them the windsurfer one? Is that clean enough?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I got a little quick one for you, because it's just so. I've been trying to help out about. I won't name him, but he's a big burly bloke, and he's no doubt watching, and he's probably turning bright red right now. So the idea is we'd had this hunt a few times, and it consisted with him going up the mountain and holding the top, while I circled around knowing where the deer should roughly be, and working as the dog and bouncing them up. So the idea is they'd come up, and as they cross the saddle, he would be in position to take the shot. So I got in a position, and this had happened a few times over the period of a few months, and we hadn't come up trumps, and we decided to do it again. And off he went up to the top, and I went around, and I actually got on to 3 sambar, a young stag and 2 hinds. They were actually sitting down just underneath where he was. So I jumped on the radio, but no response. What's going on? And it turns out that nature called, and being a big bloke, he can't kind of squat. So he uses this thing called the windsurfing technique. So he finds a small tree, and he hangs backwards and kind of and leans back into it. And while he was middle of the business, the young tree snapped. He's come back, headbutted himself, nearly knocked himself out, and fallen straight over. And I'm on the radio going, come in, where are you? These deer are here. And when he come back onto the radio, and he was all hot and bothered and told me, I was just doubled over in hysterics. So that's the one that immediately comes as cruises. That's the one that comes to mind. Yeah, there's plenty of
yeah, I will tell you one. Lee's on here tonight, so he can defend himself. But let's just say he has a good relationship with ants. And one morning, really early, we were going up on this property. We were going around the edge of the boundary, just trying to keep the tree line behind us. We were going to try and whistle in a few foxes. Anyway, I said, I'd just squat down there. I'll go up here a little bit away from you, so I'll attract them to me. Well, anyway, a couple of whistles, and next minute, I see this fox coming straight through, and I'm thinking, well, is he going to shoot this? And all I could hear is this sort of thumping on whatever. Next minute, I look around, just as the sun's coming up, here's this bloke with his pants down around his ankles, nothing on, just swapping bloody big ants. Mate, I looked around like this and thinking, what are you doing? And he's just whacking himself. And next minute, the fox is we're both just looking at Lee, just whacking these ants in the middle. The fox just looked at us, and in the end, he just turned around and walked off. But, mate, pissed myself laughing, but shit, did he get bitten? I can tell you. There's plenty more, but yeah, that's probably as clean as I can keep them. All right. All right. Wayne Hammond, do you guys ever have any trouble with European wasps when hunting the lower elevations? Took the family for a trip into the Gata and got hammered by them. Yeah, I don't tend to find they worry me, but what we used to do is just get a little container and put a bit of port or something in the bottom of it and hang it in a tree, and they'll fill that. They'll end up once the first one goes into that, they'll just start to go in that non-stop. So yeah, even a bit of red cordial or whatever, anything sweet. Yeah, just hang it in a container.
They've been exceptionally bad the last few years. I've noticed that wasps more and more in the high country. It's out of control. Some camps we can't even cook a piece of bacon in the morning. You'll be chased off that. We've been chased off carcasses where we can't even get near it. We've had to come back in the dark and finish dressing that animal down. And it's strange. When the wasps are on it, like your flies, you'll get it'll be fly blown. The wasps seem to put some kind of enzyme on it, and your meat seems to go off.
But I don't find that they're. I don't find they're really aggressive though, the wasps. I don't find I've never been bitten by one or stung by one.
We had one chap get bitten with us and then proceeded to tell me that he's anaphylactic, and that didn't end well. He's called elephant man ever after.
Okay. But me personally, no, look, you do get your time. Sometimes you can go away 1 year, same time, go away the next year, and you'll have heaps of them. The next year there's none. So, But me personally, that's what I do. I just get a container, bit of port, red wine or something, hang it in a tree. I'll go to that. Callum Henderson, how many firings do you get out of 7mm mag with your standard hunting load? Not had much to do with the cartridge, but heard it's hard on brass being belted mag host. I know Dad's not reloading sort of thing.
For you, Robbo.
But yeah, look, because I use quite a stout load, I use Norma brass. And because you don't fire a lot of shots, I find if I've got sort of 200 or 300 lot of brass, that's pretty much going to do me for the lifetime of that rifle, to be honest with you. I think by the time I loaded them maybe 4 to 5 times each, it's going to start to push the best accuracy of that rifle. Because don't forget the 7mm Rem mag, if not cleaned correctly, is very heavy on the throat of the in your chamber. So yeah, it's pretty similar to a 243. It can suffer really quickly from throat erosion. So. Yeah, but I'd expect 3 or 4 rounds at least out of the brass, probably 5 to 6 if you sort of maybe look after it a bit better with milder loads. Lee's on. I hope he didn't. I don't think he's worried about the ants. He probably hasn't seen that yet. Lee Baragwanath, you guys have had some really good questions tonight and some very informative responses. Thanks, mate. Well done to all the quiz masters. Thanks. Game Trail Films. Stevie's on, mate.
Loxy.
Yeah, great night, fellas. Very informative. Thanks, Steve. Cole Mitham, ever tried hound hunting? So much better than stalking, less boring. Well, no, not me personally, but look, I've done a lot of hunting with dogs over time, but not hound hunting for deer. That's sort of not my sort of thing, but good luck to anyone that does it. And yeah, I think as you...
Yeah, fair bit. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot faster paced. You're right. If that's what you're after, it is a lot faster paced. And certainly... Yeah, it's a lot. The good thing with Samba, especially Samba, there's many ways you can hunt them. You can walk them up, you can hound hunt them, you can long range shoot. There's all different ways to get out there and enjoy. I think if everyone finds the thing that they love doing and get out there, I find that the hound hunters seem to kind of just do that. I try and make an effort to mix it up as much as I can, and I try and go out just as more of a social thing once a year with some hound crews that I get along with, but. Yeah, it's that's a different way to hunt. I learn a lot when I'm out there to see how deer behave under pressure and what tactics they use as opposed to when we pressure them, and they do definitely behave differently. So yeah, there's lots to be learned from both ways, that's for sure.
Yeah, and look, I know probably the most effective way to probably sort of reduce your deer in a problem area is with a good hound crew. And I wish some of the good crews were taken into some of these areas where they've sort of heli hunted, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of look, me personally, no, but good luck to you if you enjoy it. Hey, all the better for it.
Yep.
Wayne Spiteri, he's made it in time. Hamish Robertson went out glassing a new waterfowl at the Hart Morass. There was no shootable stags. They were all does, and tips for finding the waterfowl stags. You know what he's on about, Daz?
Nah, mate.
No, lost me a bit, mate.
Trick question for me.
Yeah. Cookie. Hey, lads, good work. Have a 300 WSM T3 synthetic stock with limb saver. Z5, bipod, looking for a bit of recoil reduction without the muzzle brake. Any other opinion shooting Barnes 165 and do rate them. I believe the 300 Whizzer and the 300 Win Mag are quite potent in recoil, but
especially the bipod.
Well, Boxy's got one, and he's a big fella, and he can sort of handle it. But again, I wouldn't be putting a bipod on. That's the first mistake. Well, I won't say mistake. I don't think you need to shoot that rifle on a bipod. That's because when you put on a bipod, you're getting down low at the ground. You're changing your angle of your eye to that scope as well. And if you're ever going to get buddy smacked in the head, you've got more of a chance there. And that's one of the reasons why, if we want to take a rest, whatever, rest off a tree, a rock, or use what we case some sort of steady stick or something like that, just to get you in a better position.
Yeah, thump you every time. Yeah.
So I think if you're struggling with a rifle, what I would say, look, if you either put a brake on it, which wouldn't be my advice, or just drop down the caliber, or go to a lighter pill, reduce your load. But yeah, that can be a trade-off.
I did what you did, Cookie. I chased the paper because it looked good on there, and in the end, I developed a horrible flinch, and I had to step down from that foot-pounds energy that's getting onto my shoulder. It was the only way to get away from it, and just had to drop back to a milder recoil. Yeah,
you'll develop a flinch so quickly, and you'll start your shooting technique will really suffer
for sure. Yep.
Hardeep Oja, really confused. Just got into some deer shooting, and I can't seem to find the Samba freezer filler. Where do I find this species? Everyone I get is a normal Samba. He just wants to get a smaller Samba.
Snack pack one.
Yeah, well,
usually underneath the normal ones.
Yeah. Don't worry, if you find the hinds, the little ones won't be too far away.
Time of year as well.
Yeah. All right, Jack Sunblom. Oh, he's just answering Cookie here. Right, Daz, I'm going to scroll down a little bit here and see how many more we got. My God. We're going to have to give it I reckon we go another 20 minutes maybe, Daz?
Yeah, mate. Yep.
Right. Sorry, guys. Okay. Ant L. Sorry, guys. When Daz says thermals, in what way is he referring?
Yep. So, yeah, in thermals, and again, this will depend on the situation, but let's say the weather being stable, and you've got, the forecast is a nice day. You've got no prevailing winds, the best case scenario. So you've got a nice big deep gully that's got a feeding ground down at the bottom. I'll just try and paint a scenario for you. And bedding area is 2/3 of the way up the hill at the back of the gully, very typical kind of scenario. And all day, the sun has been on that face, sucking those thermals up to those deer while they sit in their beds. Now, they've been smelling all that ground below them, and that's where their feeding ground is. So as things slow down in the afternoon and that thermal settles, think of it as like a tide. So as those rising thermals slow down to almost still, those deer are going to sense that. They're going to get out of their bed and head down to that area they know below them, what they've been smelling all day, knowing that that's safe. And they're going to walk down there relatively with the guard down to their feeding area. They spend the night down there. The cool air is coming down. So where they were bedded, it's all coming down towards them. They're fed up. As dawn starts to break, the kookaburras start to call. That thermal starts to slow down almost to a slack tide, and that's gonna trigger them to start to move again. So the first kind of minutes of daylight, they'll start to move up that face, and you'll find that they'll have that slack tide. They'll find a bed to sit into, and then the inversion will happen. So at different temperature ranges and different times of day, and depending on how far the deer up the hill to their feeding zone, if you can try and put yourself in a position that when that slack tide comes in, get yourself into the position that's in between those two areas and sit there. And that way, when that starts to sink down, they think they're safe because they've been smelling that all day. But if you've inserted yourself in the middle of that picture, that's how I often get trumps on it. The crafty, the clever ones.
Yeah, mate. How many times you get busted with the wind? Like I said, whether it's the thermals, it's basically just air movement in the end, and just picking it right, like Daz said, is the key to it. But you're in trouble. We both are now. Tess is on. Keep it PG, she says. Oh, I'll just have to skip through here a little bit. Hunter Down Under. Hey Daz, what's the shoulder mount you use on your backpack for your action cam. Oh, now that's a piece of art.
Yeah. That's a. Oh, there's little bits and pieces of it. I might have a piece of it. It's not a.
There's another word for it, a contraption.
Yeah. So yeah, there's lots. We started off with a modified walk bowl. I've got little pieces of it. So basically, it's a collection of action pieces that I've modified and made into the frame. So there's a little aluminium kind of arc piece there with a few GoPro mounts, and it just means that I can give you that third person kind of angle that that I think gives you the nicest kind of thing down there. But you need a good camera, something with good image stabilization that's going to sit out there, the bird on the shoulder kind of thing. It's not something that you can buy. Have a play and just come up with a design. You'll make something work for you. Each backpack I have has a different design on it, and they all slightly different. They all cop the bush straight in there. I've lost cameras. They get stuck behind me. They drag my leads out. I haven't found the ultimate thing, but yeah, you have to have a play around with that.
Yeah, if you want to video seriously, you've got to sort of be prepared for your gear to cop a bit of a hiding.
Yep.
You mean you can protect it so much, but if you worry about it too much, in the end, it just takes you away from what you're there to do. So, but yeah, look, and that's the thing. A lot of the stuff that we use is custom stuff that we've had to make just for the job, and you're continually changing it. So Matty Cap is saying he loves his Kimber Classic in 243. Robin Coker said Hill Dog runs a Kimber. I think he runs a 708 in a Kimber, I think. I don't know. I think, and what's Tony Gillihan runs a 308 in the Kimber, I think, off the top of my head. Oh, look at Dave's on. Hunting a ret. For backpack choice, I think it is valuable to think about how you like to pack and store your gear. Personally, I use one which suits my needs. It is a Stone Glacier Sky 5900. Well, as long as it's big enough to carry half my stuff, Dave, that's all that matters. So don't worry about anything else. But yeah, it is a personal thing. But one thing that I don't know how you pack yours, Daz, but I was probably a bit old school where I always put the heavier stuff to the bottom. And recently, a lot of the Kiwis and that have been saying you put your heavy stuff to the top, light to the bottom. And I've tried that, and it does make a big difference. I don't know whether you do it.
I kind of go in the middle. I put the heavy stuff in the small of my back, kind of in the lumbar, which is 2/3 of the way down into there. So usually my sleeping gear goes in the bottom. That big, it's light, but it goes in the bottom because everything can sit on top of that. It kind of gives you a shelf, if you like.
Yeah.
And then I stack the heaviest thing in my pack is my water. So I shove that right up close to my back.
Yeah.
And as that reduces, that might change out for meat on the way out. But that is the heaviest item, and that'll go right up against my back. And I try and stack the heavy things as close to my center of mass as I can.
How do you go
heavy and tall? When I walk, I get this big sway kind of thing happening, which I don't like, and it throws.
How do you go with your pack when you've got to fill it with casties?
Like a porcupine. That was the next level. About 40 kilo of
I reckon
of
that was a big effort, I tell you. I'm glad I didn't pick any up, I can tell you.
I was get to the point where we're going to risk my cerebral fluid if we picked up any more.
Chipper 17, just wanted to thank Daz, not a hunter, don't even have a rifle's license yet, in the process. Went into Maroka's store to have a look and met Daz. Was so friendly and gave me loads of advice. Oh, good on you, mate. You must, it's hard to know with these people's names who they actually are, but Daz gets heaps of people coming in all the time, which is especially good at the moment. Keep your distance and put your antiseptic or whatever it's called on your hands, and you'll be good to go. But definitely the boys are open still for business, and hopefully it'll only get better. Zach Barthelson, mate, love the content. Any tips on picking a spot purely off the map? Oh. No, I think we covered it a little bit before, but just look for sort of areas that funnel things in.
Go over to Robbo's house and get one of his maps.
Yeah, probably a good idea. There's a few markings. I usually just follow where Ben tells me to go. He says, we're going there. All right, I'm coming. Let's go. So, no, look, mate, you do have to just as Dad said, put your boots on the ground and be prepared to get don't be disappointed, but you're going to get disappointed. Just sort of accept it before it happens. But you can be lucky too.
We're blessed with a lot of hunting terrain. There's not many maps you can put your finger on now that don't hold deer. Up in
exactly, mate.
Mate,
I don't have to. I've seen them around my place. So okay. Wayne Spiteri, guys, from both of your experiences, is there any pros and cons hunting together with fellow hunter or better solo? Daz?
Yeah, certainly. I personally, I prefer solo, especially if I'm feeling, just from that to getting close in that proximity that I've got to get to. But one of the big reasons I hunt is for the camaraderie and to spend time with my mates. So it goes both of me. So I'm happy with both ways. I've
heard that about you, Daz.
If knew that was coming. If you hunt smart with another person and you understand how their pace that they hunt, like say Don and I, we get each other and I know roughly where he'll be without even using a GPS. If I know the lay of land, I just know where it'll suck him up and where he'll get to, and I know his pace. So I know roughly if I'm concentrating, I know roughly where he'll be. And we've learned the pace of each other, so we can work together to get results, and that works well. But if you've got a guy that just charges ahead and blows out all the gully in front of you by putting a scent down there, obviously that's going to...
I think there's no general rule for hunting together or apart, but it's more who you're hunting with. If you are going to hunt together,
you've got to learn your hunting partners.
And myself and Lee are very similar to what you're saying. Like we can we're as slow as I'll get out, that sort of thing. And basically, we cover ground virtually at the same sort of pace. Never disappointed if we don't get to where we think we want to get to. And that's the key. Just cover the ground well. Don't try and cover distance. But I personally like to be in it far enough away from each other that any noise you hear is not going to be him. That's the key. You want to know it's either you or some animal.
You'll find you'll start bumping and creating opportunities when you do that. If you're on one side of the face and I'm on the other, we've got a good 500-600 meters sometimes. That spooked deer that guy come on the road and said, hey, I just put up a deer, and 5 minutes later, one comes
you're in the game.
Create opportunities that way,
No, exactly. Nicholas Foot. Hi, guys. Watch both your channels. Great stuff. I'm looking to start my hunting career for deer. Got any tips which might help me out? Pretty general question, mate, but bottom line is if you're a younger guy, whatever, it doesn't matter really, buy good footwear. That would be my first tip, and something that I've found out the hard way over the time. And I think someone actually asked before a question, I think I might have skipped it, and they basically said, are lowers worth the money? And I can honestly say yes, very, very good investment. But you do have to look after your boots. Look after your boots, you look after your feet. What about yourself, Daz? What do you reckon?
Certainly gear is something to look into. But what I wasn't able to do when I was younger was invest time into myself as a hunter to become more knowledgeable about the species I was hunting. So now with everything at your fingertips, arm yourself with some knowledge. That's where I'd start. I'd get out there and get all the info I can, books, look up, the biology and the plant matter and learn all those traits and those things. You certainly get a quick edge on and get success earlier by doing that and investing a bit of time into yourself. Yeah.
All right. Dave, Hunting a Rat's told you to pull your finger out. I don't know what about, but pull your finger out, Dave. All right, now, Tessa's got a good question for you here.
Uh-oh.
What kinds of things are you doing to keep up your hunting fitness throughout winter isolation? See, I said you, so I've got out of this already.
She fat shamed me from here. I had KFC for lunch. And 2 donuts for afternoon tea.
It's always difficult to mimic the challenges one faces in the bush.
That's all right. I've been that busy. I've been slacking off. I'll probably have a bloody aneurysm going up the first hill I find. That'll sort me out. No, I'll get back on track. There's not much I can do, to be honest. One thing of exercise a day. The only thing I've got here is to run the dogs or go for a pushy ride. That's all I've got at the moment. So I can't do much at the moment.
No, exactly, mate. I never do much, and I just pay the penalty when I get out there. But just go at your own pace. That's the key.
Yeah.
Just don't push yourself too hard. Don't look if you find you're drinking excessive amount of fluids and whatever, and you just slow down. That's the key. Not always easy to do, but anyway, good question, Tess. I like that one. Matt Capper, when using Google Earth to prep for a hunt, what faces do you target and time specific? How does it change during the season? I like the sunny faces sort of thing in the winter, and probably the opposite in the summer, to be honest with you. But keep it simple. Don't overlook it too much. Matthew Ratner, what's your best way to get some private hunting properties, boys? Every door knock I have been knocked back. Just keep knocking on the door, mate. Once you get one, you do the right thing, present yourself well. I know it can be frustrating. I say it all the time, but you just got to persist. Sooner or later, it'll come your way. All right, Nicholas Foot. Hey guys, which rifle would you recommend for the first-time shooter to deer? Well, I think we've covered this. Teak is pretty hard to go past. What do you think, Daz?
Yep. I'd go a Tika, and goes without saying, down the range, you'll see it. Tika, something else. Tika, something else. They're good bang for your buck. They shoot straight out of the box. Yep, that'd be my recommendation.
Yeah, very much so. There's plenty. Well, actually, the other one I would say to look at, and I haven't any first-hand knowledge of them, but everyone I know is getting them, that has got them, I should say, has enjoyed them and found that they've been really good. It's the Sauer 100s.
Yeah, right.
Very good value for money, and I don't mind the actual design and layout of them either. So, whether every gun shop's going to have one might be your issue, but you will find a Tika just about anywhere. What have we got here? Paulie Considine, how are you, Paul? I'm late again, but great show and content. We'll be on the rerun. Thanks, mate. Nick Trzowski. Daz, that's the funniest shitting story I've heard.
Well, they get funnier.
Oh, yeah. Honey, what's going on? Rob's still on here. He should be working.
He should be past his bedtime.
Yeah, poor windsurfer. Can't even defend himself.
I stole a dono of him today.
He says a windsurfer can't even defend himself. It'll cost us. It'll cost Daz anyway. Khadijah's enjoyed those stories. Like I said, I've got some other ones to tell you, but they have to be in private, not under filming situations. Grunter the Hunter. Hey guys, have either of you ever been bailed up by wild dogs in the high country? Well, we used Daz's bait, and he was circled. But me personally, you often get that feeling that you've sort of been surrounded. But I've got
lots of close running stories. I've been face to face with quite a few of them. They've never been brave enough to take a bite, but now they've come into my camp. They've gone through my bags and ransacked it. I've come across other hunters that have been attacked, and you've been in shock, wrapped up in space blankets. When I worked up at Dinner Plain, there was regular bail-ups of walkers going down there, but most times I've found that dogs gone wild are a big difference between wild dogs as in like the alpine dingoes, and you couldn't get close to them if you try, but I do rev them up a fair bit and howl at them and carry on, so I'll probably get what I deserve. But I've lost a few legs to a few deer, and that's about it, to be honest. I'm not too worried about them.
Daz knows that what I think of wild dogs, and that's one of my favourite things to hunt, so I don't give them the opportunity. But and the thing is too, some of the alpine wild dogs, not dingoes, the alpine wild dogs are bloody big. They can get quite strong, and you put them in a pack. Look, as a hunter, I'd never be worried about them, but at the same time, if you're in a situation where you can legally knock them over, I'd suggest you do it. Plus, it's $120 at the moment as well.
Yeah, it's a tank of fuel.
Yeah, all right. Rockaholic 67. Who pays for emergency evacuation if your EPIRB is activated and there is insurance? Is there insurance for this? Helicopters aren't cheap. Well, as far as I know, if it's an emergency, you don't pay a thing. But if it's classed as an ambulance ride, Possibly you'd want to have ambulance insurance. That's how I'd see it.
Ambulance
ambulance
membership's
cover.
the way to go. Yep. If you get your ambulance membership, then
but I think
that'll be covered.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the situation too, Okay, Rob, 1453. What hound hunting is the meat harvested different to when a deer is taken cleanly? Meaning, does the hand pressure stress the animal excessively? Yeah, well, of course the animal's going to be juiced up. But yeah, like I said, I haven't hound hunted deer, and I haven't eaten deer that have been hunted with hounds, so I can't give you first-hand knowledge. But I would say that yes, it's the animal's going to be definitely full of juice, basically. Daz, what do you think of that?
There is a lot of variables, and I think I've eaten quite a bit off the hounds and vice versa, and there's a lot of variables. There's that, but there's also the way it's hung, the way it was shot, the way it was looked after, the way it was chilled, how long it was chilled for, etc., etc. So it wouldn't be just that one factor. You can make the toughest, old, grizzliest bit of meat taste all right with the right kind of prep. So I wouldn't be too deterred by it. If hound hunter lends you a leg, I wouldn't knock it back, that's for sure.
No, and we've always said it comes down to not only the cut of meat, how it's been hung, and basically then how it's cooked. So, there's a lot of factors in it. So Lee's back on again. He says, Daz says he's hunted an old deer in the raw.
Oh, God. I knew we were missing something.
Oh, you should have realised there was going to be something.
I told you he's quick.
Well, I think we're getting close to the end here. Hold on, we'll see if we can beat him, Daz. Let's go. Good session, fella. I'm going to jump a couple here. Mel Jeffers. He went out to my auntie's farm and managed to shoot a big dog of a Sambo stag. Went 32-inch, scored 220 Douglas points. Another day at the office, another skull cap for the shed. Might even give away on Gumtree. Well, that's a fair old animal. 32-inch, 220.
Good stuff.
Robin Coker. Lee, that one went over their heads, but I was onto it. Yeah, no, don't worry. I have to filter it, Mr. Coker. Righto. Zach here saying he loves both the channels. Good on you, Zach. Matt Cato, what's the most important thing that you've learned about deer hunting that you wish someone had shared with you when you started out? How heavy they are.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Definitely the look more, walk less thing.
Yeah,
I reckon
exactly.
I must have walked past 10 to 1.
I think we've all bumped them up, pushed them out, honked more times than we count to wish to share, basically. Right. Hey fellas, any experience on Zamberlan boots? Bought a pair of them, good quality, but they weigh a ton. What do I do to combat the weight? I think to look too late to take them back. Not much, mate. A boot's a boot, pretty much. If they're going to be heavy, they're heavy. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. But heavy means robust generally. They're a well-made old school boot that everyone that I know that gets those boots raised on how long they got out of them. So I've got pretty heavy boots. I've never, working in the snow industry a long time, all our boots were heavy, but I never at the end of the day thought, shit, I was glad to get those things off my legs. They were so heavy.
Yeah.
It's just, I know you adapt to it pretty quick. I reckon.
Yeah, I think that's it.
And your muscles will keep up.
Probably put a few miles in them around home, just walk around home, do a few hills and then just build up, do a little bit each day, I think. Build leg strength. All right, what do we got here? Stephen Bolt, recommend me a hound rifle, 45-70 lever action pump bolt. I think you've said it in one there, 45-70 lever gun in a Marlin. Be hard to beat, I reckon. Can't have semi-autos anymore, so
next best thing.
Gonna be pretty hard to beat there. Grant Miller, hi guys. The GSP is laying on the bed, listening to hanging out to go for a hunt. Yeah, I think everyone, including the dogs, are keen to go. All right. Robert Purcell, opinions of the 308 Lithgow as a stalking rifle for deer. I haven't seen them firsthand. I think they're a bit heavy though. I've got a feeling they're quite weighty, but they're a good rifle from what I can see. But you haven't had anything to do with them, Dave?
No. I've only ever seen them at the shows and they're locked on the wall. I haven't even handled one, to be honest. I don't know much about them at all.
No, but again, an Australian product. So if you like them, buy one. But definitely try and pick one up, see what it's going to feel like, whether it's going to suit you for weight. But bear in mind, sometimes it's only a 308 you're talking, so you could go on the lighter weight without being suffering from copping a heavy kick of recoil. Nick Trajovsky, gents, talk about dogs in the bush. I had them stalk me from behind. Ooh, okay. Shit my pants. As I put my rifle up to have a crack at one behind me, I had a second one charge from my right, which copped the pill. Oh, yeah. That's what they do. That's why they hunt in packs.
They'll circle around you, yeah. That's all. When I was a young fella, the same thing happened to me. One I was paying attention to, unbeknownst, I was getting circled. Walked into a den with young ones. They did the same thing. So it's obviously a common tactic. I think mistaken identity is what's happening. They're probably honing in on something they can hear and just using their usual tactics. But yeah, it's only happened to me once.
But I as much as it can be eerie, I still get a little bit bloody fired up when I hear those dogs start to howl around me. I see it as a challenge, you know. So,
yeah, look for a tree.
Yeah, then start. No, I like to howl them back.
It's hard not to rev them up.
All right, blimey, we're still going here. Quickly, opinion on a VX5 HD Loophole. All right, but I would still go the Swarrow over one of those myself.
I was surprised. I only looked through one of those recently, and I thought it surprised me. It was bloody clear and
one
sharp.
of the better ones in there, that's for sure. But still,
but I haven't owned one.
No. Grunter the Hunter, I have 5 Tikkas in my collection. Love them. They are great rifles. Thanks for your efforts tonight, guys. Catch you next week. Touching on that, I'll probably go a fortnight, I think, in this one. I just back to work. Hold on. Rob's getting in here now. Maroka 30 TV. Poof, Daz will fall asleep shortly. He can't Houdini himself out of this one.
Yeah,
I've got no donut for my snack, though. Daz stole it off me.
For my wife.
Great chat. Good job. Thanks, Rob. All right, we're almost at the end. Andy, yes, has anyone played with the electrical muscle relaxant like abattoirs use? Heard of a portable unit for hunting that helps with rigor mortis? Well, I don't know about that, but I went to one of the shows and the blokes had this thing that looked like a bloody phone. And he said, oh, look. I said, what's that? Next minute, he's hooked it up around me on my shoulder blades. And I thought my muscles were going to bounce out of my neck. So if I tell you now, not about rigor mortis, but it almost finished me off. My God, mate, I've never felt something like that before.
No,
so
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh yeah. Anyway, all right. Callum here saying he has a lift going 223, heavy, very heavy profile, great for shooting from a ute. Yeah, I've just heard they are a little bit on the heavy side, but other than that, good rifle. All right, I'm going to have to cut this short, guys. It's getting really late now. Michael Frizzle, any tips for deer hunting with kids or introducing kids to hunting? My 6-year-old loves coming out, but we keep coming up with zeros. The key is just get them to enjoy the bush and don't make it all about the guns or the hunting side of it. Just give them little challenges. That would be my advice.
Or the club. Lots of members are taking their young fellas out with us on the branch hunts and stuff like that, and there's kids around that age group. So and most clubs are family friendly and bring them along. Yeah,
not only that. Ideally, if you can go out with a couple of the kids, you know, like just so they've got someone to sort of muck around with at the end of the day and whatever. Or it's got to be
softly with the kids, and nice, slow. Don't push them too hard, or you'll find the opposite will happen. Yeah.
Exactly. Great show. No, thanks, boys. Michael Frizzle, just take my boys out. They love it. Yeah, very, very true. Khadijah, really enjoyed watching today. Thanks, guys. Good night, and hopefully see you soon. Thanks, Khadijah. I think, let me just go to... That's it, Daz. We've done it. My God, almost 3 hours, man. I can't believe it. Anyway, listen, I'll just hang on, Daz. I'm going to say good night to everyone, as I think we both will, but just hang around. I'll have a chat to you before we go.
No worries at all. Night, fellas.
Thanks, everyone. I keep looking at different screens. I'm getting tired now. Thanks, everyone. And most likely, we'll all see you in a couple of weeks. And all I will say is thanks, Daz. I really appreciate you jumping on, mate. And
guys out there, see you come and say good day if you see us up in the bush, and have a nice cold frothy and a warm campfire soon, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, see you next time, guys.